Good morning. It is 5 a.m. Happy June. I'm Jay Harper in for Joan Jones for a couple of days. I'll have a weather forecast, and I think we're going to get you a traffic report here in a bit, so just stay with us. A peaceful rally at a Boulder, Colorado pedestrian mall yesterday became the scene of what the FBI calls a targeted terror attack. The rally was in support of the hostages still held by Hamas. Officials say 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon shouted "Free Palestine," then used a makeshift flamethrower to injure and burn participants. 8 people between the ages of 52 and 88 were seriously injured and required hospitalization. One of them is in critical condition. Witnesses were able to point out the suspect, and he was taken into custody at the scene. ABC's Mola Lingi is in Boulder.
The FBI says they're investigating this incident as an act of terror and targeted violence. Colorado Governor Jared Polis also calling it a heinous act of terror, writing on X, "Hate-filled acts of any kind are unacceptable." Boulder's Jewish community putting out a joint statement saying in part, "Our hearts go out to those who witnessed this horrible attack and prayers for a speedy recovery to those who were injured."
Some backlash over President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. ABC's Selena Wang tells us where the bill has been getting some flack.
The bill would extend Trump's 2017 tax cuts, end federal taxes on tips and overtime pay, spend nearly $50 billion to resume construction of a border wall, and slash funding for Medicaid.
And the CBO estimates that these Medicaid cuts could leave more than 8 million Americans without health insurance by 2034. But the White House insists no one will lose their coverage. Despite all this pushback, Republicans aim to get this bill to President Trump's desk by July 4th.
Hurricane season began yesterday, and there's something new for the season. ABC's Wayne Cabot has more.
Starting this year, the National Hurricane Center will give people the projected storm track 72 hours in advance, up from the current 48 hours, a whole extra day to prepare or evacuate. The National Weather Service tells Axios that they're also in the process of mapping the entire country to help people visualize what flooding will look like in their area. They tried it last year in Nashville and say it led to a hospital being evacuated before it flooded during Hurricane Helene.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, an investigation is underway after a deadly shooting at the Clarksville Speedway and Fairgrounds on Saturday night. According to Clarksville police, off-duty officers were supporting the ongoing fair and reported hearing gunshots coming from the parking lot near the venue's entrance at about 9 o'clock on Saturday. Authorities said additional police responded to the scene and found a 15-year-old victim with a gunshot wound to the chest. He was brought to the hospital where he later died. Witnesses at the scene reported seeing 5 or 6 males running from the area following the shooting. Law enforcement also confirmed and urges anyone in the immediate area that may have surveillance camera footage of all this to please contact police. We now take a look at stock futures here on this early Monday morning. The Dow down 237, the S&P down 37, and the NASDAQ down 166. That is the latest news. Traffic, weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. All roadways into the metro area looking to be pretty clear at the moment. Keep in mind, CMA Fest coming up here soon, and we've got some road closures downtown, especially along the riverfront. First Avenue South between Broadway and Demonbreun, that's closed down. And you may encounter some other big old barrels in the middle of the road downtown, so keep that in mind. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.507 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? It is so great to be back, and I actually mean it. No, I've spent the last week or so drinking rum drinks. I think I was telling Jay Harper off the air that I think I gained about 4 or 5 pounds in rum and coconut drinks on the Not a Disney cruise. But it is so glad to be back. I am so glad to be back. It sounds like I'm still on the rum. It is June 2nd, Monday. 2025. I want to do this real quick. I've not signed in yet, and KGB, if you could, sign in to the text line, if you could. 615-737-9986. Jay, KGB,
yes, sir.
Listeners, before we get down to the official business of the radio broadcast on this Monday, Jay, can you name this sound? KGB knows what it is, so he can't play. Jay, do you know what this sound is?
I can't say that I'm
Name that
familiar.
sound, Jay.
I can't say I'm familiar with that.
All right. I'm going to play it one more time.
Okay.
Do you have the super text line up? 615-737-9986?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I don't know about KGB.
So let's wait for the delay, and then I'm going to get down to this serious business. I know people are yelling at me already. Get to the news, Mandis. I know. Can you name the sound? You got nothing, Jay?
I'm stumped. You got me, Dan.
Okay, now, KGB, I told you what it is off the air, but had I not told you off the air, and don't say what it is, could you have told me if I had not played this for you, just give me a yes or no? Do you know what that sound is? Would you have known what that sound is had I not told you?
If I were to actually guess without knowing, it sounds like someone choking a chihuahua.
Oh, doesn't that sound so gratifying, choking it? No, it's not choking.
Good Lord, man.
I don't like chihuahuas.
We're 8 minutes in.
Yeah,
8 minutes in, and we're already going down the road of choking chihuahuas.
I'm not a real fan of chihuahuas either, Dan, so I'm with you there.
Okay, as long as, we're all on the same page.
Some people are getting this right, by the way.
Are they really?
A lot of people, actually.
Okay, don't say what it is. We will let you know in the 5:35 segment what that sound is.
You know, something did kind of come to my mind given some events locally, but I was not sure. But looking at the text line, maybe I had it right.
Everybody knows that is a zebra.
Yeah.
Have they found that stupid zebra yet?
I think he was captured.
I don't know, because I just saw one of the local news stations, and they said the search continues for that zebra that has been running around Murfreesboro in Rutherford County.
Yeah, right near exit 80, near the Joe Jackson exit on 24 is where it was running up and down the road. I thought I had seen on local news that the thing was captured over the weekend, but perhaps they were wrong.
Jay. Does that sound like a thing? That sounds very cute.
It does sound like a dog's being attacked.
I don't know. It kind of sounds distressful to me, like the poor animal is in distress.
He was literally eating hay. I pulled that off the internet.
Okay. Well, of course,
However,
that's where you find everything.
However, can I tell you, I don't, and we'll get into this more. I know, get to the news. I understand that. But somebody actually had just gotten this zebra as a pet, a grown zebra. And apparently someone had just gotten this as a pet and it got out, and it's running around the streets of Murfreesboro in Rutherford County. So, and let me tell you something, and we'll get into this a little bit at 5:35. as cute as they sound, they're actually terrible pets. And as much as it sounds like, someone choking out a chihuahua, zebras actually want to choke out humans. They hate humans, as a matter of fact. So, which, by the way, I actually can relate to zebras in that sense. Totally kidding. But so anyway, bottom line is we'll talk about why somebody would want a zebra as a pet, because you can't cuddle them. You know why you can't cuddle a zebra?
Because they hate humans.
They hate humans. They kick and they bite. So I don't know.
I was surprised to find out that exotic pets are not illegal in Tennessee.
No, they're not. It depends. Like I looked up a zebra and what you need to do to, own a zebra. You've got to ensure and have the proper documentation that it's not an animal that was like stolen or improperly bred or whatever. But other than that, yeah, you can own a zebra, I guess, as a pet. They're not illegal. They are illegal, by the way, in some states. So now what happens if that zebra, they're going to tase the thing when they finally catch up to it? You don't want to shoot it.
No.
I mean, look, it does sound a little cute. So I don't know if anybody would want. Should we make that the Daily Dan poll question? Should we take out the zebra? Shoot to kill. All right, moving right along. Anyway, of all the news that has been going on in the week that I've been away, this was actually the one news story, Jay Harper, the one news story that my wife was so excited to tell me about, like 7 rum shots in.
Of course.
This was the one story that my wife wanted to talk to me about. And so we talked incessantly. I guess it was on, Thursday or Friday, whatever it is, that this zebra was running amok in Murfreesboro. So, yeah, if you could figure out, Jay Harper, if that...
Yes, I'll get down to the bottom of the true story there.
Yes,
Dan.
what is going on with the zebra?
Yes, whether this thing has been captured or it's still roaming the streets of the borough.
And remember, if you see a zebra, if you see there's zebra in Murfreesboro running around, are you allowed to shoot it? Don't shoot the zebra, folks. Don't shoot the zebra. If you have a tase, you could probably tase it. But the people that own the zebra, by the way, KGB, what are people saying on the super text line? Are they telling me, get to the news, Mandis? Don't you know what Ukraine did to Russia?
People are comparing it to Kamala Harris laughing, so no, not yet.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Jay? Yeah.
Yeah, there's... I hear it.
We have got to find the perfect Kamala cackle to compare to the zebra doing whatever it's doing.
I have
there.
one.
Do you? Okay, hold on. So you play yours.
Okay.
I can hear it.
Yeah,
I can hear. Go play yours again. Oh my gosh.
Good Lord.
Wow. Even without the Captain Morgan, I can hear it.
That's exactly right, Jay. All right. I'll get to the news. It is a 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
So far, so good on our roadways. No accidents, no breakdowns of concern. Again, keep in mind some road closures happening downtown, especially along the riverfront as CMA Fest gearing up here in Music City. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Weather today, a high of 88 and partly cloudy, 66 now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so... I did try to keep abreast of the news in between, rum drinks and all that with the umbrellas and all that. And this could be a very rough week for Mayor Freddie O'Connell. I was livid when I saw what he did in doxing those ICE agents. Now, this was a big story. I know that most of you have, obviously kept up with the news as I did while I was on my Not a Disney cruise. But he's now being investigated from a federal level. I love this. He made national news after doxing ICE agents last week. The names were in a report made public by his office. And Mayor O'Connell said, oops, our bad.
It was never the intent of the executive order for those names to be posted. They were removed as soon as we were made aware that they had been posted. We're working on new safeguards and procedures to avoid it happening again.
So just in case you're keeping score, He is accused of aiding and abetting illegal aliens, spending taxpayer dollars trying to protect illegal aliens from ICE, and now doxing ICE agents. And by the way, our Daily Dan poll for today, your Monday, June 2nd, is Mayor O'Connell says that this was an accident. Do you believe that this was an actual accident? That his office had this big report on the, ICE raids in Nashville, and oops, we accidentally doxed or released the names of those ICE agents. Now, what are people saying so far, KGB?
You want to take a guess of how many people said no?
100% believe that the mayor is lying.
98.
90. Who is that? I want to know who that 2% is.
Yeah, the actual phrase is, Mayor Freddie says he accidentally released names of ICE agents. Do you believe him? So it should, everyone, that's not a trick question.
No.
So it's pretty
I don't believe him.
Yeah.
Jay, do you believe him?
I could see 2% accidentally saying yes, though. Like,
really,
a misclick.
You think they were a misclick? Okay, you know what? They're having, like a seizure or something when they were taking the poll. Perhaps that's what it is. The mayor claims that the doxing was an accident, and as soon as they realized the names were included in the report, Mayor Freddie O'Connell pulled it back. Here's what he says.
We've had a training process, and I will say our Metro Nashville Police Department has been very effective in this. We will be reviewing not just how that information is recorded as it comes into publicly available processes, but also then what does get posted. The interest here is just in transparency. It is not in obstruction or doing anything that would be considered harmful.
All right, so I believe that the mayor is lying. I will openly call out the mayor and say to his face, if he would ever come on the show, you are lying. Freddie O'Connell, you are lying. And I would also like to remind everyone that honesty isn't exactly a strong suit of the Democrat Party. I've been gone for a week, but here's what I know. What I know is that the Democrats have been lying about a number of different things for the last 4 years. And just so you know, I'm not necessarily differentiating local Democrats who I believe are just as insidious as the federal Democrats, the national Democrats. And so when you talk about Freddie O'Connell, when you talk about Afton Bain and the rest of these leftist knuckleheads in local government, to Metro City Council or state legislature and so forth, I make no distinction between those on the left here in Middle Tennessee and in the state of Tennessee and the national Democrats like Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, et cetera. They all lie. That is what they do. And so we know that they lied about illegal immigration. We know that they lied about the border wall being secure. They lied about Joe Biden being fit for office. They've lied about a lot of things. And so when Freddie O'Connell says that, this was just an accident. No, it wasn't. B and S. You, of course, here in the state of Tennessee, Afton Bain, we all remember State Representative Afton Bain trying to tip off illegal aliens by live streaming ICE's location during the ICE raids. I mean, I could go on. Remember that, and I said this, that Mayor O'Connell, when he signed that executive order mandating that state employees and state agencies, or I should say city employees and city agencies, when they are in touch with ICE agents or ICE or whoever it is, that they have to let his office know. Well, the thing that I said immediately was we can't trust Mayor Freddie O'Connell with that information. So if ICE employees call up, I don't know, Metro Nashville Police or whatever it is, city employees, and then they in turn are mandated by his executive order to let him know what is going on, you know that he's going to tip off the illegal alien community just like Afton Bain did. So no, they can't be trusted with this information. The Department of Homeland Security released a list of sanctuary jurisdictions. I believe this was on Thursday or Friday, but over the weekend, definitely. It was out there that are deliberately obstructing the enforcement of federal immigration laws and endangering the lives of American citizens in the process. And yes, Nashville was on that list. And Freddie O'Connell is like, I don't know. I'd like to see the criteria of that. Listen, if you're on the list, Freddie, you're on the list. Did you see what happened in Washington, D.C. to the office of Jerry Nadler? So apparently, Homeland Security or ICE, but agents raided the Washington, D.C. offices of Jerry Nadler. And apparently it was for housing or hiding protesters or something to that extent. If you would like to see that story, I went ahead and posted that on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. And basically what I said is, all right, ICE, all right, Tom Homan, all right, federal government, all right, Homeland Security. Once you're done in Nadler's office, go say hello to the people over there in Mayor Freddie O'Connell's office. Tell them that we all said hey. Andy Ogles, of course, Senator Marsha Blackburn, both demanding investigations.
I am not particularly concerned. We're going to, again, respond appropriately to all inquiries, and we have been guided by full understanding of state and federal law, and will continue to be. Well,
again, that was Mayor Freddie O'Connell. Senator Marsha Blackburn, I think it was 2 weeks after Andy Ogles and a lot of us have been screaming about this. Senator Marsha Blackburn finally chiming in. I believe that it was Friday, also calling for an investigation.
The issue with that is the names were out there, and there are thousands of screenshots of this. So the names are out there. The damage has been done.
Well, the senator is clearly, obviously correct. There's never been more clear, actually, that the Democrats are on the side of the criminals, not just those that have come across our border. You know, there is at least, and I will admit, there is at least an argument to be made that those folks should be given a chance to stay. But the people, the Democrats, locally and national, the Democrats are siding with the gang members, the worst of the worst. Remember those that were arrested, and we talked about all of this. They were gang members. They were child predators. They were rapists and drug dealers, among many other things.
Our ICE agents have seen an uptick in assaults, over a 400% increase. And, you know, they have a job to do. They are working with law enforcement here in the state. They're rooting out these Tren de Aragua and MS-13 gang members.
Yep, they are. And if anybody out there in Washington, D.C. happens to be listening to little old WTN and Nashville's Morning News, seriously, we would love to see you check out Mayor Freddie O'Connell and certain members of the state legislature and the Metro City Council as well. We'll have to see what happens this week. It is 5:24 on Nashville's Morning News, and Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. And Jay, what's coming up in the news?
Yes, Dan, a terror attack in Colorado, and we'll have the morning money news. We'll get that cranked up for you here this morning at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
529. 529, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. All right, so we have a lot going on with the terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. Horrifying, horrifying situation. We are going to talk about that. Incredible story out of course, Ukraine and Russia. The war there is Ukraine. They take out a ton of Russia's air power. We'll talk about that as well via drones. That is an amazing story. We're going to talk about that as well. And also, Tales from the Not a Disney Cruise. And I've got some audio here. I want to know if people can guess what this is. Kill your audio, Jeff, if you would. I want to know if people can guess what this sound is. Can you guess what that sound is? Anyone? Anyone? I know you can't. This sound was occurring at 3 o'clock in the morning directly above our stateroom. And we'll talk about that as well. Coming up next on WTN.
Good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll get to a traffic report, and we'll also have a weather forecast. Look for it to get a little bit warmer. We may indeed hit the 90-degree mark before we are all said and done. For the first time in many years, we've not hit the 90-degree mark yet this year. So, rather interesting. A peaceful rally at a Boulder, Colorado pedestrian mall Sunday became the scene of what the FBI calls a targeted terror attack. The rally was in support of the hostages still held by Hamas. Officials say 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon shouted "Free Palestine," then used a makeshift flamethrower to injure and burn participants. 8 people between the ages of 52 and 88 were seriously injured and required hospitalization. One of them is in critical condition. Witnesses were able to point out the suspect, and he was taken into custody at the scene. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert.
Authorities say a man targeted the Run for Their Lives, a weekly event that raises awareness about Israeli hostages being held by Hamas. Witnesses say the suspect used a makeshift flamethrower to spray flames into the crowd while shouting "Free Palestine." The 8 victims, ranging in age from 52 to 88, suffered burns and other injuries. At least one was in critical condition overnight.
Now let's turn to this morning's opening money news. For that, here's Jim Ryan.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Tensions between the U.S. and China intensified over the weekend, with each country accusing the other of violating the Geneva Trade Agreement. The rising friction drove down the major stock indexes overnight. The markets finished out last week, meanwhile, with mixed readings. The Dow Jones rose 54 points on Friday to close at 42,270. But the Nasdaq Composite slipped about 0.33%. The S&P 500 was unchanged on the day going into the weekend. Analysts are offering new warnings about the effect of impending tariffs on your grocery bill. With tariffs on steel and aluminum set to rise by 50%, food companies may boost prices to offset the higher cost of packaging. More Americans are finding themselves out of work longer. 1.7 million people have been looking for jobs for at least 6 months, the most in more than 2 years. Economists say companies have cut back on hiring in the face of uncertainty.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the futures, the pre-market numbers. The Dow is down 180, the S&P down 32, the Nasdaq down 154. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
All right, so where's Jay?
I don't know. So let me just check the traffic report real quick.
Pretty sure that there's nothing going on traffic-wise.
Yeah, granted, it is 5:30 in the morning. And yes, nothing is going on. We're all open. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.538, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Dan, back from vacation. It was a good one. By the way, if you want to see some of the fun and frivolity, do you, Jeff, do you follow me on the Facebook? Jay, do you follow me on the Facebook?
Yeah, I do.
I'm rarely on Facebook. I don't.
I know you're too young
anyone.
and cool. I got it. So anyway, totally kidding. We posted a very funny video, a couple of videos. Number one is we posted a video, Amy and I, my wife, where she is like holding on to the side of our stateroom, and I'm pulling her, trying to tell her the vacation's over and we got to go home. And so we posted that to be kind of funny, and it was actually kind of funny. We also posted a video. Amy put together a nice little video of some of the stuff that we did, some of the fun that we had on our Not a Disney cruise. It was indeed a great time. Now, I want to ask folks if they know what this sound is. This was heard in our stateroom at 3:30, between 3 and 3:30 in the morning. Anybody know what that is?
Is that's above you? You say?
Yeah.
Someone's having sex.
No. If they were, well, anyway, moving on. So what it is. So, you know what that is? So this went on by the third night, Amy, because we are exhausted because we can't get any sleep. So by the third night, Amy is so irritated with all of this that she says, I'll be right back. And I said, no, honey, I'll go up there. And she says, no, you stay down here with Riker. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to see what the heck this is. And so she starts counting steps to find out what in the world that is above our stateroom. Now, as it turns out, right above our stateroom, by the way, what are people saying on the super text line? No, it's not another zebra. Let's see here. Dan was downing margaritas all week. No, it had nothing to do with my drinking. You know what they were doing? Above us was the splash pool for all the little kiddies. So this sound, when Amy went upstairs, they're pressure washing the pool. And this is somehow some sort of maybe a compressor or something. And so I called 1800 with whatever the cruise line was that we were on. And I said, I don't know what you guys are doing, but my wife says you're cleaning up there or pressure washing up there. And this sound is driving us nuts. And I was in a very sleepy and semi-drunken stupor, told them they needed to stop. And Royal Caribbean stopped. That was driving me 3 days. And Amy was like, well, why didn't we, call them the first night? And I said, I don't know, honey. I don't know why we didn't call them the first night. All right, it is 5:42. Now, inquiring minds want to know, because we were talking about this earlier. What is the fate of the zebra? Now, KGB, now there is a zebra, in case you missed the opening of the show, there was a zebra that was running amok in Rutherford County over the weekend, in Murfreesboro. And the videos are all over the place, and nobody knows where in the world did this zebra come from. So, KGB, I asked you to call the public information officer in Murfreesboro and to find out the latest on the zebra. Do we know what's going on with the zebra?
I doubt anyone's going to answer right now because it's 5:30 in the morning, but I can just go back and try.
WTN is a major news organization. So...
Wait, hold on. I got something for that. Wait. I got something for that. Yeah, that was funny.
Wow. Jay, do you hear what? Do you hear what KGB is saying about your news performance?
Oh, wow! Way to change directions.
I said we're a major news organization. We have Jay Harper, and you're really not going to call the PIO? That's their job to answer the phone for major news organizations.
For public
5:43.
Dan.
Public information.
The last time you were here, our last segment, we talked about circumcisions.
That was Chris's fault, not mine. That was Chris's fault, not mine.
Who are you, WTW? Yeah, we're good.
No, we're oftentimes we're WTF.
That was again funny.
All right,
Two
so
funnies.
anyway, moving right along. So we're not going to, Jay, do you want to call the public information officer?
I can.
You know how this works. You call the PIO, you leave a number, and they'll call you back within a couple of days when the story's long gone.
Exactly, yeah.
Jay, you and I both know how this works, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So this is just a fruitless endeavor then.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, traditionally public information officers don't like WTN for whatever reason. And so we'll make the call, and then we'll start screaming about what they're trying to hide. Now, here's the question. Why would anybody want a zebra in the first place? So here's what I have figured out about zebras. They cost initially $5,000 to $50,000 initially when you buy a zebra. Do you know what that buys you, Jay Harper? That covers the purchase, the transport, basic fencing, and shelter. Yeah. Because they need a lot of room to roam.
Well, it sounds like whoever owns this zebra has kind of fallen short on the fencing element of things.
I want to know how it got it. Because this is like you saw the videos, right?
Running up and down the road, the poor thing. I was afraid somebody was going to hit it. You know, it was going to jump out in front of traffic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, was it running along I-24?
Yeah. I mean, literally along the interstate.
How does that happen?
Man, I don't know. Now, if you had seen that and had not had all that Captain Morgan, would you still have believed it?
You know what? I would have believed it because these kinds of things actually happen in Tennessee. Now, 5553 says, last I seen, the zebra was caught and back wherever it came from.
Yeah, that's what I had seen on over the weekend. But there are some news organizations here in Nashville that kind of leave you hanging on that, on their online stories that I've been looking at. They don't have closure on the story.
Yeah, because there was no closure with the zebras fencing.
Yeah.
Let's see here. 6695 says it was still on the loose yesterday afternoon, and there is a petting farm near there. That's probably where it came from. No, I don't think so. You wouldn't want to pet a zebra because we were talking about this earlier. The zebras are mean. They bite and they kick, and they don't like people. Kind of like some of the women I've dated earlier in the. I'm just kidding. Let's see here. Jay awfully quiet on that one. So I don't know. So we don't know. We don't know what is going on with said zebra. What does the Tennessean and all these other places say? Do we know? This was a big story over the weekend, and I can't seem to find any. Any recent data. Did you call the zebra hotline, KGB? The PIO? He still hasn't called.
I know. He's kind of slacking on the job here.
All right, listen, whatever. All right, if anybody knows what's going on with the zebra, that might be Ken Weaver's zebra. Deport the illegal zebra. Thank you. 2133. I like that. Maybe it came. Does Murfreesboro have a zoo?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't know. I don't think Murfreesboro has a zoo. I'm sure it has a petting zoo.
Probably.
All right, my favorite. So, why is he so bashful? Why is KGB so bashful? He's got to understand the power of WTN. We are a major news organization. Can't you tell by this segment? Hey, not Ken, Jay.
Yes, sir.
So, do you want to know what one of my favorite stories has been over the past many months? Is the pagers that were sent to Hamas by Israel.
Oh, I know.
Do you remember that story? How great that was?
Absolutely. I mean, brilliant.
So now that may be usurped by Ukraine launching all of these attacks, the swarm of what they call kamikaze drones unleashed from the backs of trucks to devastate two of Russia's most major airfields. Now, this sounds like an incredible operation. Number one, I was listening to the Red Eye guys overnight. It is being reported that these drones were literally driven to the location so that they could then strike the airfields. They were driven to that location by some Russians who had no idea what they were driving. So some sort of a, inside intelligence kind of operation within Ukraine. And so they drive these drones and they're in, I guess, big crates or boxes or, whatever they were. And then they're driving to the location inside of Russia, and all these drones start flying out and attacking the air military of Russia. And I mean, they're talking about how this has done $7 billion worth of damage to military equipment, airplanes, and so forth. These two bases, located thousands of miles from Ukraine, are key to Russia's nuclear strike capability and were considered untouchable. Dubbed Operation Spiderweb, the coordinated attacks have left Vladimir Putin humiliated and his prized warplanes in smoldering ruins, though Moscow has claimed to have repelled all the attacks. Now, I don't know about you. There's no way that Ukraine did this by themselves. You think they could have done this by themselves, Jay?
Nah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's pretty elaborate and something that had to have been developed over a pretty good length of time. I mean, it doesn't sound like something you just throw together overnight.
No.
Yeah.
Here's what I think happened.
All right, Dan.
Here's what I think happened.
Dan knows.
So during that conversation at the Vatican between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. Yeah. Remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe there's a conversation, and perhaps this has been in the works for quite some time. I don't know. But all of a sudden, right after that, you then saw Donald Trump calling out Vladimir Putin in a very public way. Remember that? Where it was clear that Trump was like, okay, I don't know what in the world has happened to Vladimir Putin, but he's gone crazy. And Putin was not responding to conversations with Zelensky, and he wasn't going to give an inch, and Putin was clearly not cooperating, and he was still attacking Ukraine, despite the fact that Donald Trump was saying, Vladimir, stop. And so I think that at some point, maybe Trump pulled the trigger. And I do find it suspicious that Zelensky came out and actually said on social media that the operation had an absolutely brilliant result, adding that it was achieved solely by Ukraine. So when Zelensky comes out and literally says, oh, this was just us, we're the only ones that did this, I immediately think, oh, they had help. Now, I don't know if it was us. I don't know if it was, Europe. I don't know who it was. I'd be willing to bet it was us.
Remember, you mentioned the Vatican meeting there between Zelensky and Trump. Remember, I mean, they were just the two of them, right? Sitting in chairs in a kind of isolated, sitting there kind of
in the middle of an empty room, where nobody could hear what they were saying.
Yeah, and I could just imagine, kind of talking back and forth like, hey, Don, can you kind of
can you help us out with some drones?
Yeah, man, I've got an idea. Can you help us with that?
1709. Zelensky said it took over a year and a half to plan the operation. That is true. That is what Zelensky said. Zelensky also said that it was just Ukraine that executed this attack. So I don't know about you. But I believe that probably and very possibly the United States, perhaps, maybe, had a hand in this. But I'm just a knucklehead in Nashville, Tennessee, who can't get a call back from the Rutherford County Public Information Officer about a zebra on the loose. KG, I can't even get my producer to call the Rutherford County Public Information Officer. All right, and what did he or she say?
Well, I have an anonymous source.
You have an anonymous source?
Anonymous source that has not been captured yet.
Okay.
No reports at this time.
So the zebra,
we have conflicting stories.
You know what? Can we get some of the drones that Ukraine has and get them flying over Rutherford County to see if we can find the zebra?
It's a zebra, Dan. Chill.
I'm just saying.
Psycho behavior.
By the way, so yeah, zebras are very dangerous. So if you actually see the zebra and people are saying, don't shoot it, tase it or tranquilize it. Tranquilize it. Because tasing and tranquilizing are two different things. But anyway, by the way, now the big worry is out of Russia is that
zebras are going to attack.
No, they're not going to be attacked by zebras. However, the worry is that now Vladimir Putin may resort to a nuclear response. What's left of his nuclear arsenal, or at least the way to transport said nuclear arsenal.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you updated on that story. But all eyes really now are on Vladimir Putin and what his response will be. It is 5:54 on Nashville's Morning News, and Jay Harper has the news coming up at 6. Jay.
Yeah, Dan, we may see some haze over Middle Tennessee, and we'll tell you why. Also, Russian and Ukrainian, speaking of all of that issue, delegations from both are set to meet in Istanbul today. We'll have those stories and more coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is on fire in Fuego. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. 8064. Did y'all know that zebras are actually black with white stripes, not white with black stripes? I did not know that. Jay, did you know that?
Yes, actually.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
All right, very good.
One of the few things I knew. And I am seeing Channel 4 is saying that this animal still has not been corralled. So,
well, they got that from us because we just broke that news from our anonymous sources within Rutherford County just a few moments ago. So, Channel 4, you're welcome. It is 6 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It is 6 a.m. I'm Jay Harper in for Joan Jones. Don't worry, Joan will be back later this week. So the super texters, just calm down. It'll be all right. I've got traffic, I've got weather, and I've got your latest news. Smoke from the numerous wildfires burning across Canada continues to sweep down into portions of the upper Midwest, and it's drifting our way, bringing hazy skies and impacting air quality in some areas. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the latest.
What those fires are doing collectively is forming dense smoke that's now drifting pretty deep into the U.S. Air quality is considered unhealthy in parts of Minnesota, parts of Dakotas, where officials are telling people to keep their windows closed overnight. And the haze itself is stretching as far south as Des Moines. So the impact is really vast here, and it's really reaching, as you can tell, pretty far into the heartland.
Russian and Ukrainian delegations are now set to meet in Istanbul today in an attempt to establish a ceasefire in the more than 3-year-long war. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in Lithuania for a summit with the leaders of NATO's Eastern and Nordic members today talked about Ukraine's goals in those Istanbul talks.
For us, very important is ceasefire, unconditional, of course, ceasefire and humanitarian issues as to bring back adopted children and of course, exchange of warriors.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, an investigation underway after a deadly shooting at the Clarksville Speedway and Fairgrounds on Saturday night. According to the Clarksville police, off-duty officers were there doing security at the fair and reported hearing gunshots coming from the parking lot near the venue's entrance at about 9 o'clock Saturday evening. Authorities said additional police responded to the scene and found a 15-year-old victim with a gunshot wound to the chest. He was brought to the hospital where he later died. Witnesses at the scene reported seeing 5 or 6 young men running from the area following the shooting. Police urge anyone in the immediate area with surveillance cameras to look at your footage, and if you see something suspicious, to please give Clarksville police a call. Several people were taken to the hospital after a multi-car crash in downtown Gatlinburg yesterday afternoon. According to a spokesperson with the city of Gatlinburg, the crash happened on the 700 block of Parkway. That's downtown Gatlinburg. This happened at about 4 o'clock yesterday. Officials said 3 people were flown to the University of Tennessee Medical Center, and 3 were taken to the hospital by ambulance. The crash shut down the roadway for several hours. No further information on the status of those folks that were hurt. The Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. You can find them online at beaconcm.com. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stock numbers, if my computer will cooperate here. Come on, computer. Well, it ain't going to happen. Wait, there it is. Hey, the Dow's down 158, the S&P down 26, the NASDAQ down 124. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. No accidents or breakdowns to report, but we are beginning to see the normal volume delays on 24 coming down from the north, or I guess you could say Clarksville. We've got a bit of a delay right near Trinity Lane, as usual. Also the same on 24 westbound coming up from Murfreesboro between Old Hickory Boulevard and Bell Road, seeing a slowdown there. And also, once you get to 440 from 24 west, it's kind of jammed up between 440 and Interstate 40 and that little bottleneck there. But aside from that, we're looking pretty good so far. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hope you are doing well. Welcome on in to a Monday, June 2nd of 2025. Dan Mandis here. Glad to be back indeed. Somebody asking me, Jay, I don't know if you had this in this particular newscast, somebody on the Super Text line asking if we had the latest on that horrible story. Incredibly sad, the Gatlinburg accident. Did you see what happened here yesterday? This is some witnesses to what could only be described as a horror accident.
Wreck here in Gatlinburg. Major crash in the side of Gatlinburg here. We've got a serious accident here. This is in Gatlinburg, in the middle of Gatlinburg. There's multiple crashes. There's guys laying on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, you had bodies laying everywhere and multiple accidents. Apparently, and again, Jay, forgive me if I'm stepping on your toes.
No, not at all. I mean, I did report it at the bottom of or at the top of the hour, rather, but not a lot of detail in what I'm seeing. So that's good what you've got.
Yeah, what I've got is that the person apparently may have had a seizure behind the wheel of that car. And so stepped on the accelerator instead of the brake. That's what some people, I don't know if that's been officially reported, but that's what some unofficial sources have been reporting, is that somebody had some sort of a medical issue, maybe a seizure, and just went, driving through crowds of people and hitting cars. It's just a horrible thing.
Yeah, I mean, 3 people reportedly flown by life flight to hospitals in Knoxville, and 3 more folks just taken by ambulance. But, any of us that have been through that area, I mean, it's so congested. And, to really get up ahead of steam, to drive quickly through there, had to be, you would think, somebody that had perhaps was impaired or had medical emergency of some kind.
Yeah, and if you want to see that video, you can follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show, and I went ahead and posted that video. So prayers for all involved. It is 6:10 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. That was clearly an accident in Gatlinburg, but we know that it was not an accident. What happened in Boulder, Colorado, over the weekend on Sunday, a pro-Israel rally was going on. Peaceful rally was attacked with a guy using fire as his weapon.
There's a woman who was on the ground bleeding out, and then there are 2 other women whose calves were burned from the fire, and so I just ran over to stay with them and make sure that they didn't lose too much blood from their legs.
You know what I noticed? What I've noticed is that you folks remember over the last, couple of years, when Hamas attacked Israel and then Israel was forced to respond and defend itself. Of course, all of this paid for by Iran. But, with all of those, pro-Hamas, pro-free Palestine people and all of these all of these protests and rallies across America over the past couple of years, not one Israeli came out with a Molotov cocktail. Not one Israeli, not one Jewish person, not one pro-Israel person came out with a literal blowtorch and started setting people on fire. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that it's only the Free Palestine people that are actually killing Jewish folks or Israelis or supporters? Yeah, that's what's going on. Now, remember, you can use this, and I've got more to the story, and if you don't know what happened, you have this crowd of people, and they're rallying for the release of the remaining hostages being held by Hamas when this terrorist appeared, and he was using what people are describing as Molotov cocktails, and he literally, this is horrifying, he starts burning people in the crowd.
And there was a woman that was burning on the ground. And then we noticed two other people that had also been affected by the burns on their legs. And this man was shirtless and was yelling with some kind of accent and was threatening to burn people.
Yeah, you know what he was screaming, right? Everybody know what he was screaming? We all know.
Yeah, Free Palestine.
Exactly.
Yep.
The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon.
Yep, and old Mohammed Sabri Solomon was here illegally. One of Biden's illegal aliens. That's exactly right. It was week before last, right? Wasn't it? That we were reporting on another Free Palestine yelling terrorist who killed a couple of people, those two Jewish people in Washington, D.C. Yes, it is open season now on these events that are supporting Israel. It is open season. Let's also not forget, by the way, the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, was also targeted by an arsonist. So again, what do we know about old Mohammed Sabri Solomon? Again, he is illegal. He is a Joe Biden illegal alien.
Per three senior DHS and ICE sources to Fox, according to our colleague Bill Malusian, doing some great work, that he is an Egyptian national who is in the U.S. illegally because of a visa overstay who came during the Biden administration. Mohammed Sabri Solomon first flew into the U.S., according to these three sources of the DHS and ICE, flew into the U.S. on August of 2022 at LAX. He was authorized to stay through 2023, but never left.
So this is horrifying on so many levels. Now, I want to talk about, coming up next, going to check the traffic, but I want to talk about how Democrat policies and Democrat values, and remember, what I said in the 5 o'clock hour, there is no difference between local Democrats, in my opinion, local Democrats here in Nashville and the state of Tennessee and Democrats from the National Party. No difference whatsoever. And coming up after the traffic, we are going to talk about how Democrat policies and Democrat values have made you less safe. Details straight ahead. It is 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, a high of 88, partly cloudy as well. Right now, 67 degrees at Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Talking about this clearly a terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. By the way, Boulder, Colorado, a Democrat enclave, very much, Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden in Boulder County there in Colorado by a wide margin. But I want you to think about this. Joe Biden takes the oath of office and allows Iran to sell oil, ignoring the Trump administration's sanctions that had, of course, decimated their economy, allowing them, of course, Democrat policies, allowing them to begin to fund terrorism once again. Iran then uses that Biden money and Biden resources to fund Hamas. They also trained Hamas, who then use it to attack Israel. Israel then must defend itself. And so you'll notice that this whole situation started with Joe Biden lifting the sanctions, or actually really, to be more accurate, ignoring the sanctions that the Trump administration had put on Iran. And so then Israel defends itself, and these crazy pro-Hamas supporters in the streets of America are now openly killing Americans who support Israel. It's sad, isn't it? But you see, this is how Democrat policies make you less safe. And to make matters worse, this particular guy was here illegally under Joe Biden. Yet another policy of Joe Biden, open borders and weak immigration laws. This is all, again, how progressive and Democrat policies make you less safe.
As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country.
Yeah, and by the way, this guy who's speaking there is with the FBI, and I don't know. This seems to be pretty open and shut to me from ABC News. The pro-Israel demonstration was a run-for-their-lives walk. I think I heard Jay talking about the victims are somewhere around 55 to...
Yeah, 52 to 88 years of age.
So this guy takes a Molotov cocktails and flamethrowers to an 88-year-old. That's abhorrent. That is just abhorrent. From ABC News, the pro-Israel demonstration was a run-for-their-lives walk aiming to raise awareness about the remaining hostages in Gaza. The organization's hosts, it's a global run and walk events calling for the immediate release of the hostages held by Hamas, according to its website. The attack happened on the eve of a Jewish holiday, Shavuot, making it all the more chilling and cruel. All upcoming run-for-their-lives events have now been canceled, which is exactly what the terrorists want.
Well, also, that holiday is pretty important in the Jewish history because that's celebrating the Ten Commandments being brought by Moses.
Okay. Boulder, again, a very left-leaning county, but I don't think to me, that doesn't matter. I mean, I mention it just in passing, but this is absolutely horrifying. And again, I will state that we had all of those pro-Hamas rallies that were happening, and by the way, are still happening over the last couple of years, and not one pro-Israel person. Jay, maybe I missed it, but did you cover any pro-Israel person lighting Hamas supporters on fire here in America? Did you?
Well,
were the Israeli supporters, were they crashing these things and lighting people on fire with mullet? I don't think that actually happened, Jay.
Yeah, if it did, I missed it.
Yeah, I totally missed that one.
Yeah.
Stephen Miller, of course, Deputy Chief of Staff for the Trump administration, writing on X, a terror attack was committed in Boulder, Colorado by an illegal alien. He was granted a tourist visa by the Biden administration, and then he illegally overstayed that visa. In response, the Biden administration gave him a work permit. Then he says this, and I thought this was interesting. Suicidal migration must be fully reversed. Now, I've never heard this term used before, suicidal migration. Grok hasn't either, but I will say he's obviously talking about suicide bombers and people that come to our country illegally and they have terrorism on their minds. Now, suicide migration could perhaps be someone who comes here illegally, just as I said, for this purpose. Eventual terror attacks. Now, we don't know. But remember the 9/11 hijackers. I mean, who could forget 9/11 or the hijackers, obviously. But they were in America for months, even years, plotting and waiting for 9/11. Now, we've been saying all along that these are the kinds of people that Joe Biden and the Democrats were welcoming into our country. It is so important, and I implore you that when these things come up, that you not only talk about Joe Biden's open border policies, Joe Biden's weakness, but obviously the weakness of the Democrat Party. because we all know that Joe Biden was not running the country for 4 years. It was the Democrats. And so don't let the Democrats, don't let the media, because that's part of what they're trying to do. Part of what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, oh, well, you know, the Bidens lied to us. It was the apparatus of the Democrat Party who allowed those borders to be open. It was the apparatus of the Democrat Party that lied to the American people, not only about gaslighting the American people, not only about Joe Biden, but also about the open borders. The border is secure. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And you advocated for those people to come into our country, including the guy that just torched how many people? 6 to 8 people in Boulder, Colorado? This Hamas-supporting Free Palestine terrorist that literally lit people on fire? Just a couple of weeks after 2 innocent people in Washington, D.C., also Israel supporters, were also killed by a Free Palestine chanting terrorist. So this is a Democrat issue. So don't just get angry with Joe Biden. It is the party that is at issue. Remember that, by the way, when you get angry, and I know there's a lot of folks that are angry with Donald Trump and the Republicans about the big, beautiful bill, and I'm right there with you. I totally understand, and I get it. I don't like the big, beautiful bill either. A lot of people do. I'm just going to be honest with you. There's a lot of stuff in there. I don't like it. But what I also don't like, and you folks may be screaming at the radio right now, because I know all too well that Donald Trump is trying to negotiate with Iran. And I think that is a monumental mistake, because the more that you work with Iran, the more that you allow their economy to thrive, the more money and the more resources they have to fund Hamas. And make no mistake, Hamas is behind what happened in Boulder, Colorado, one way or another. It is 6:23. On Nashville's Morning News, Jay Harper is in for Joan Jones. Jay, what's coming up?
More on that terror attack you've been speaking of, Dan, in Boulder, Colorado, and some backlash on the big, beautiful bill you've been talking about, Dan. We'll have those stories and more coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, by the way, Matthew Hurt is coming up at 6:36 here on Nashville's Morning News. Going to talk a lot about politics and something that Tim Walz said over the weekend has him trending on this Monday morning. Guys over 40, if you are running low on energy, maybe you're just feeling a little off. LowTCenter.com is where you need to go. Get started with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, and join lots of guys who are going through the same thing as you. Now, I know that they've got clinics, Low T Center, they've got clinics all over Nashville, and they're really easy to get to. You walk in, you see a real medical provider, and you get that energy back. No complicated process, just results. And remember, these treatment plans are tailor-made just for you. You can get treatments at the clinic, or you can be treated at home, but either way, you're always going to get the highest quality of care. And right now, you can get a free consultation, and if you qualify, treatment is covered by most major medical insurance. So reclaim that energy and become you again. By the way, they can also help with prescription weight loss options as well. So head on over to the Low T Center. It's lowtcenter.com. Book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Simple, quick, and totally worth it. 626 on WTN. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They want you to know that their TVA rates have been extended. You can save a lot of money on your HVAC when you go through Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And right now, mini split 17 SEER 2 or higher units, you are going to get an $800 rebate. Get up to 12 months, no payment, no interest, depending, of course, on your credit. Lenders' offers may vary as well. But they're always, again, Busy Bee looking for ways to save you money. They've got the rebates to prove it. They've got rebates on AC tune-ups, $50 rebate for each tune-up, spring and fall. And then that pays for your Beehive membership for the year. By the way, also real quick, Busy Bee is hiring. And so if you want to check them out, if you're somebody who has experience with HVAC or with plumbing, check out their website, busybeehvac.com. They are hiring for both, again, service and install departments for HVAC and also plumbing. Pay range for these more experienced roles, $30 to $39 an hour with healthcare benefits and a whole lot more. Call them 615-775-7833. Find them online, busybeehvac.com.
Good morning. It's 6:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A weather forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. A peaceful rally at a Boulder, Colorado pedestrian mall yesterday became the scene of what the FBI calls a targeted terror attack. The rally was in support of the hostages still held by Hamas. Officials say 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon shouted "Free Palestine," then used a makeshift flamethrower to injure and burn participants. 8 people between the ages of 52 and 88 were seriously injured and required hospitalization. One of them is in critical condition. Witnesses were able to point out the suspect, and he was taken into custody at the scene. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser tells ABC News,
"There's too much hate going on. This is just another reminder of what hate-filled violence looks like. and it's not okay. We've all got to condemn it, and we've got to prosecute it to the fullest extent of the law.
Backlash over President Trump's one big beautiful bill. Some members of his own party say the bill has an ugly side and it's going to raise the country's deficit. ABC's Selena Wang has more.
President Trump's allies defending his so-called one big beautiful bill against opposition from fellow Republicans. Speaker Johnson now urging his Senate colleagues to get on board after the bill narrowly passed the House by just one vote, but they're pushing back. Budget hawk Senator Rand Paul says there are enough unconvinced Republicans to block its passage. At issue, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office predicting the bill could add $3.8 trillion to the federal deficit over 8 years.
Back here in Nashville, a developing story as authorities are investigating a shooting early this morning on the I-65 overpass over Fern Avenue. The incident was reported on the Fern Avenue overpass at about 5 o'clock this morning, and according to authorities, a person was shot in the leg during an alleged robbery. Again, this is a developing story. We'll have more as the information becomes available. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, back from vacation, and of course, I missed being here with you, but I also missed my rock-solid internet at home. That's right. You know, Xfinity, I've been a customer for years, and change is always happening. It is a part of life. When it comes to music, for example, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten, classics are remixed, bands and artists, they come and go. Even our taste in music can change. But no matter how things do change in 5 years, there's one thing that will always stay the same: the price of your internet. Thanks to Xfinity. Xfinity is introducing a 5-year price guarantee. That's right, a 5-year price guarantee. Now, it means that you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with their best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same over 5 years. If you're surprised, well, yeah, life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years guaranteed, thanks to Xfinity. Find out more, xfinity.com/deals. That's xfinity.com/deals. Check them out today. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024.
No accidents or breakdowns being reported thus far. We are, however, seeing the usual volume delays, especially 24 westbound between, between Sam Ridley all the way up to about Bell Road. Also coming down from Clarksville, there on 24 near Trinity Lane, seeing the volume delays there. Now, last week, we had stories about a black bear roaming around through Gallatin, and there were photographs of that animal. Well, we're getting a lot of people on the super text line telling us that that animal, or maybe not that animal, but a black bear, unfortunately, has been struck on Vietnam vets going eastbound. We are seeing delays on that stretch of road on traffic cameras, but we don't have official confirmation of that, but a number of people reporting that, and I would certainly take our super texters at their word. So sad scenario if that is indeed the case. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. 636. And listen, I've been telling you for years about United Structural Systems. Now, from what I understand, There was just a little bit of rain last week while I was off on my Not a Disney cruise. I guess it rained almost every day when I was gone. If you need waterproofing, USS United Structural Systems, this is the company for you. Now, this is a great company. They've helped me several times with my home, and that is why I proudly endorse United Structural Systems. Now, I'm one of 30,000 satisfied customers. They can help you as well. They're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you won't pay a dime until the work is done, and you are a satisfied customer. Go down into your basement. Go down into your crawl space. Is there water? If there is, then you've got to call my friends at USS, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. You can always find them online anytime, USSTN.com. .638, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, and good morning to our grassroots political analyst, Matthew Hurt. Matthew, always great to have you on. Missed our discussion last week as I was off on my vacation, so we have a lot to get to. I want to play a piece of audio, and this is Tim Walz. I don't know what this dude's up to, but, you know, of course, Kamala Harris's former running mate, and he is seemingly more and more unhinged. This was Tim Walz. Again, over the weekend, this is why you may have seen that the Minnesota governor is trending.
Called out on this because I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Oh. The governor's being mean, and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the shit out of him back. You push back.
There you go.
You make sure they know it's not there.
So, Matthew, I don't know what it is that Tim Walz is trying to do, but he just seems more and more unhinged. And I don't know if I'd call Donald Trump a bully right now. Would you? One of the things that I was speaking about in one of the previous hours was, and you just talked about Joe Biden, and I know that you agree with me on this because you and I have spoken about this before, but I'm imploring folks, don't let the media and don't let Democrats say, oh, well, Joe Biden lied to us. It was in my opinion, it was the entire apparatus of the Democrat Party that lied to us, not only, of course, a gaslighting about the border being secure, which it wasn't, and that Joe Biden was mentally, cognitively fit for office. This wasn't obviously a cover-up of the Bidens. This was the Democrat Party.
For a future Democrat presidential administration, it is Orwellian, and it is up to, this is why, programs like yours, Dan, are so important. Your listeners are tuned in and paying attention to what's going on to then hold their Democrat friends accountable, Democrat elected officials accountable, and to change the narrative up and down from the local level all the way up to Washington.
One of the things that came out, I guess this was yesterday, this was tweeted out by Eric Daugherty. A CNN shocking poll, as 59% of Democrats believe their own party does not get things done. 68% said they don't have strong leaders, and only 16% of the American people say the Democrat Party has strong leaders. 19% say Democrats, only 19% say Democrats actually get things done. So, and by the way, I'm gonna yell at the Republicans here in a second, but how are the Democrats going to convince anybody that they should be given back the House of Representatives in the midterm elections?
Well, what I've seen on the ground so far is that it isn't about Republicans. Democrats aren't making the case against Republicans on the policy issues. Because the Democrats' policies are the ones that contributed to open borders, it contributed to crime in our streets. What they are doing, though, is utilizing the frustration of their tried and true members, of the people who would vote Democrat all day, every day, anytime. And that is what we should be on the lookout for headed into the midterm elections. Do the Democrats have a platform? Do they have issues that they care about, issues that they're making the case to the American people? Or is this just orange man bad and Republicans are bad as well? And I think that is going to be the major campaign theme of the midterm elections.
Well, it's going to be interesting, too. There are a lot of Republicans, Matthew Hurt, a grassroots political analyst, who are worried about the impact of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill on the midterm elections. And so we're going to pick up on that conversation coming up next. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads for Monday on WTN. .45 on WTN. As far as your weather today, high of 88, partly cloudy. Right now, 67 at Super Talk. 99.7 WTN. Matthew Hurt joining us. All right, so let's talk about the Republicans real quick and the big, beautiful bill. I've said in the past that this big, beautiful bill could ultimately turn ugly for the Republicans in the midterm elections. And I get why Republicans are divided on this, because there are legitimate concerns by budget hawks who look at this and they see that you've got $3.8 trillion over 8 years. It's going to add that much to, they say, the national deficit. But then you hear others within the Trump administration who say this is fake news. So I personally, I don't know who to believe. Do I believe the Trump administration? Do I believe other conservatives who I greatly respect, like, for example, Rand Paul and others who say that they do believe that this will add trillions over the next 8 years? Who do you believe in this, and what could the big, beautiful bill, what impact could it have on the midterm elections?
Well, the devil is in the details. Rather than listening to politicians on the actual outcome of legislation, I often go to organizations whose responsibility is research in this area. The Tax Foundation is a national organization, and their sole responsibility is digging into what happens when a legislative body passes a tax cut or a tax-related bill. They've got a really good summary on what the good, the bad, and the ugly of the big, beautiful bill. I think, though, that what happens on the campaign trail is different than what happens when a piece of legislation is passed. And so if a Republican candidate can make a strong case for some of the good things that are in the bill, and that resonates with voters, that'll be good. If Democrats can make an argument about the bad things that are in the bill, and what may happen to the economy, then that would resonate with voters. Again, and you and I have talked about this a number of times, it isn't necessarily what happens in the legislation, it's how the politicians spin it. And so I step back in instances like this, and I look at organizations like Tax Foundation and others and see what their sort of nonpartisan assessment is about something like this.
Russ Vought is the White House OMB director, and this is what he had to say about all this.
This bill will preserve and protect the programs, the social safety net, but it will make it much more common sense. Look, 1 out of every $5 or $6 in Medicaid is improper. We have illegal immigrants on the program. We have able-bodied working adults that don't have a work requirement that they would have in TANF or even SNAP. And those are something that's very important to institute. That's what this bill does. No one will lose coverage as a result of this bill.
Apparently, Hakeem Jeffries and other Democrats are saying, people will die. I don't think people are going to die. That's number one. And number two, when they talk about, thousands or millions or tens of thousands, whatever, will lose their coverage. Well, I'm sorry, talking about Medicaid, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to cry if an illegal alien or somebody who does have the ability to work ends up losing their coverage because their butts should go back to work.
Anytime a politician says someone is going to die if this bill passes or fails, you can pretty much write that person off. 30 years ago, Newt Gingrich, the Contract with America, in conjunction with Bill Clinton, a Democrat in the White House, enacted work requirements for policies like this. There are two things that can happen here. Do a majority of Americans believe illegal aliens should be receiving federal benefits? I believe it's overwhelmingly no. And do reasonable people, most voters, believe that if you can work and you can contribute to the economy, should you be receiving a disproportionate amount of federal benefits? I think the answer is also no. And if Republicans can make that case, then the voters will disregard Hakeem Jeffries' hair on fire assessment.
Well, I think part of the problem is the fact that you do have the Democrats, and when their default setting seems to be people will die over everything, then it's hard to take them seriously. That's why when you've got, numbskulls like Tim Walz talking about how Donald Trump is a bully, which he's not, or when you've got Hakeem Jeffries and others saying people will die, it is a little hard to take them seriously, especially when they've been lying to us for the last 4 years.
Yeah, and this will disproportionately affect older voters, people who are recipients of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and they'll hear it through channels like AARP and the television stations they watch. It is important for Republicans to be proactive and engaging and not shy away from constituent interactions like town halls. All Republicans need is one congressman who gets a tough question at a town hall to stand up and say, you know what, I hear your concern and this is the truth. For a video like that to go viral and for people to understand that, in fact, what Republicans want to do in many instances, and in this one in particular, is make the country fiscally solvent so that we can continue to perpetuate the American dream for future generations.
So here in Nashville, I've been talking about this off and on throughout the morning. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell doxed the names of some of these folks with ICE. This happened last week when I was on vacation. He says, it was just an accident. I don't believe him, and I do believe that the feds do need to investigate not only Freddie O'Connell, but also State Representative Afton Bain and others. Do you think that'll actually happen? They don't, here in Tennessee, just real quick, here in Tennessee, they don't have a Democrat governor to stand in the way. We have a very conservative state legislature. We have a sort of conservative governor, and you've got Mayor Freddie O'Connell, a Nashville mayor who is a Democrat, but I don't think that he's going to get any protection from the state legislature or the governor.
The election of Freddie O'Connell shocked me because he has been a left-wing activist for as far back as I was growing up in Murfreesboro. So it is important people engage in political speech and engage in executing the what the government is supposed to do without a threat of being unsafe in their homes. So doxing individuals is something that is on the right. I don't do, and somebody like Freddie O'Connell should be held accountable. Dan, I'm most concerned about my sister's zebra that's running around in Rutherford County this week from this weekend.
Are you worried about that zebra? Can I ask you a question, Matthew Hurt? Is this what? Is that what the zebra sounds like? Because that is the sound of an actual zebra.
That is, it's absolutely wild. Always something interesting going on down there. And then I heard about the bear killed on the highway. So you guys, it's a zoo in Nashville, and Freddie O'Connell is the ringleader. And I hope that you guys get that figured out down there.
All right. Thank you, Matthew. How can people find you on X?
I'm on X at Matthew Hurt, MattheWHurtt.
All right. We'll talk to you next time. Always great to have Matthew on the program. 6:52, Nashville's Morning News, and Jay Harper has the news coming up at 7. Jay.
Russian and Ukrainian delegations are set to meet today. A targeted terror attack in Colorado will have the latest, and Nashville first responders attacked by someone they were helping. We'll have those stories and more coming up at 7 a.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.653, Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mendes here from my window company, Window Nation. Now, I endorse these folks because they did great work for me. Now, if you've got old and inefficient windows, it is time to upgrade with Window Nation. You know that they were ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installers. Window Nation, of course, they're highest on my list as well. They did put 4 windows in my home. They look fantastic. They can do the same thing for you. These windows are made right here in the USA. And right now, they've got a great deal for listeners to my show. You buy 4 windows, you get 4 additional windows absolutely free. Plus, no payments, no interest until 2027. Now, these windows are energy efficient. So not only are you saving money on the install, but on your electricity bills as well. Now, how do I know that you're going to be happy? Because Window Nation has a 96% satisfaction rating and over 20,000 5-star reviews. Now, don't forget that great deal. You buy 4 windows, you buy 4 additional windows, you get 4 additional windows absolutely free, plus no payments or interest until 2027. Call them, tell them you want the Dan deal, 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com. 6:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sorry. People are thinking, Jay Harper, people are saying that maybe the bear ate the zebra.
Yeah, I saw that.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
So have we confirmed that the bear that was running around Gallatin?
Right. Gallatin, Bethpage area.
Gallatin, Bethpage.
Yeah, that was
bear.
that was confirmed last week, May 26th, to be exact.
Okay. So
Yeah,
the
there was
bear-
a sighting.
Okay. And we still have not found the zebra.
Correct.
All right. But we have confirmed with anonymous sources within law enforcement in Murfreesboro that the zebra has yet to be found. And so they're still looking for the zebra, and we'll continue to watch that. It is 6:59 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, coming up next, watch me on YouTube. I haven't even promoted this yet. So watch us on YouTube, Facebook, 997WTN.com, as well as X. If you want to watch the radio show, feel free. Take the Daily Dan poll. The Daily Dan poll today is, do you believe that Ukraine, is that what we settled on? KGB going to have to help me out. It's been a rough morning.
It was not in Ukraine. It was the mayor, Freddie, accidentally releasing the names of ICE agents.
Do you believe that Freddie O'Connell accidentally released the names of the ICE agents here in Nashville? Because they doxed them last week. Freddie says it was an accident. Do you believe Freddie?
97% don't.
I want to know who that 3% are.
I honestly think some people misclicked because you can't.
You think that was a misclick?
Well, when you misclick, you can't change it. Like it's done. That's why
Okay.
I think there's some. I think there's some legit misclicks.
I think though that there's some malcontents in our audience too. That they just, they like to be those people that go against the grain.
There's some people that hate Joan on there, and I'm like, what losers?
Oh, but they hate me. They're cool, according to you, right, Jeff?
No comment.
7 o'clock on WTN.
Good morning. It's 7 a.m. I'm Jay Harper in for Joan Jones, and I've got your top stories, a traffic report, a weather report. It's going to get hot. Yeah, all that's coming up. Russian and Ukrainian delegations are set to meet in Istanbul today to discuss a, quote, settlement of the conflict between the two countries. Just a day before the start of the talk, however, Ukraine launched a large, daring, and surprise drone attack on Russian military air bases, one of them thousands of miles away from Ukraine, and it destroyed more than 40 military aircraft. ABC's Marcus Moore has details.
The operation had been planned for more than a year and a half. Drones were concealed inside makeshift mobile houses with retractable roofs, which were then placed on trucks. The source said those roofs opened remotely and the drones flown out to strike. Russian officials are also investigating 2 train derailments they say happened after 2 bridges were blown up in separate Russian regions, this near the border with Ukraine.
A peaceful rally at a Boulder, Colorado pedestrian mall yesterday became the scene of what the FBI calls a targeted terror attack. The rally was in support of the hostages that are still being held by Hamas. Officials say 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon shouted "Free Palestine," then used a makeshift flamethrower to injure and burn participants. 8 people between the ages of 52 and 88 were seriously hurt and required hospitalization. One of them remains in critical condition. Witnesses were able to point out the suspect, and he was taken into custody at the scene. ABC's Mola Lingi is in Boulder.
The suspect holding what appears to be Molotov cocktails in front of a patch of burning grass, screaming at the crowd before being taken down by police.
He had 3 Molotov cocktails. One of them he threw inside of a group. At the group, and one lady lit on fire from head to toe.
He was also taking this garden sprayer, basically, and spraying people with this gasoline and fire, flames.
Authorities identifying 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon as the suspect apprehended on scene.
Back here in Nashville, 2 members of the Nashville Fire Department were injured while responding to a call in the Edgefield area of East Nashville on Saturday, and that led to one man's arrest. Metro Police said that fire department personnel responded to a report of 2 people passed out inside a vehicle at an intersection. When personnel got there, 44-year-old Anthony Maynard Jr., he had regained consciousness by then, but his female passenger was unresponsive. According to authorities, Maynard became combative while one paramedic was trying to help the guy. Then, while the other first responder tried to help the passenger, Maynard allegedly accelerated the car, injuring both fire department employees. According to police, Maynard was eventually taken into custody. Authorities, they had to use Narcan to the passenger, who reportedly did recover. And yes, we've been talking about this morning. Our super texters were alerting us to this, and it is confirmed now that a black bear was found dead this morning beside Vietnam Veterans Boulevard in Gallatin. Sumner County officials said the bear was found near exit 14. Authorities, they've not confirmed if it's the same bear that was spotted in Bethpage back on May 26. Officials told News 2 here in town last week it was the first bear sighting in the area in over a decade. Law enforcement there on the scene right now on Vietnam vets working to determine how the bear died. It's assumed it was struck by a vehicle, but they are investigating. No additional information has been immediately released. So that poor animal, again, found dead on the side of the road this morning. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather coming up. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Again, no accidents or breakdowns to report in the immediate metro Nashville area. However, just to repeat, they're on Vietnam Vets eastbound past exit 12 in the area of mile marker 13, 14. We do have the police activity there as they're trying to determine they're investigating the death of a black bear found on the side of the road there. We are seeing the typical volume delays coming down from 24, coming from Clarksville there at Trinity Lane. And we are seeing the normal backups on 24 westbound as you come into the city. And also, we are seeing delays on the East Bank near Nissan Stadium on both 24 East and westbound. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:08 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. They are talking about how this Ukrainian strike on Russia is one of the greatest Russian defeats in modern history. This is incredible. And by the way, I don't believe for a second that Ukraine did this on their own. But have you heard this story? Where, and you probably have, but here's the very latest. You may or may not know, but Ukraine launched an insane drone attack. It was a drone swarm of kamikaze drones, and they were unleashed from the backs of trucks that were literally driven into Russia and devastated two of Russia's most major airfields. This is huge. And this is a massive, and I mean a massive defeat and embarrassment for one Vladimir Putin. And I'm here to tell you that when I heard about this story, I had the same satisfaction as when I heard this story about the pagers that were sent to Hamas by Israel. Remember that whole story? And all these Hamas terrorists had their... sorry, I shouldn't be gleeful, but I will be gleeful. And all the Hamas terrorists got their fingers blown off by Israel with those pagers. Well, I have the same satisfaction here. Because despite the fact, and here's what I'm going to tell you, despite the fact that I am sick and tired of Vladimir Zelensky demanding millions and billions of dollars, make no mistake that it was Vladimir Putin, as you know, who invaded Ukraine. But I also don't believe that Zelensky and Ukraine pulled this off by themselves. No. I think this had to have been with some help from someone, whether it was the United States, whether it was Europe, I have no idea. Dubbed Operation Spiderweb, the coordinated strikes have left Vladimir Putin humiliated and his prized warplanes in smoldering ruins, though Moscow has claimed to have repelled all of the attacks. The bases are located thousands of miles from Ukraine, and these bases are key to Russia's nuclear strike capability, and at one time, they were considered untouchable. Now there are major fears of a nuclear attack, not on Russia, but from Russia. Details straight ahead. The story from the Daily Mail. Yet Ukraine appears to have struck them, Russia, with deadly precision, using what they call first-person view drones launched from unmarked vans parked near the airfields. So these trucks, I mean, this is amazing. So apparently what Ukraine did was they had some Russian, I guess like independent contractors, and they had them drive these trucks in Russia towards the airfields and got them, I guess, in range or within range of these airfields. And these guys, these Russian drivers, can you imagine? They're driving along near these airfields, and then all of a sudden, the back of these trucks just open up, and all of these drones start flying out. And they start attacking these airfields. Oh, can you imagine? $7 billion worth of damage to military equipment. Ukraine is also claiming to have destroyed 34% of strategic cruise missile carriers at the main airfields of the Russian Federation. Now, Vladimir Zelensky is describing the attack, and many others, by the way, this isn't hyperbole. Many others have also said that this attack is one for the history books. Both military sites are thousands of miles from Ukraine, but were under drone attack, with dozens of Moscow's nuclear-capable warplanes eventually destroyed. Now, this is where it gets a little scary. More alarmingly, the strikes have triggered frenzied calls within Russian circles for a nuclear response. Russia's nuclear doctrine allows for a nuclear response in the event of an attack on critical government or military infrastructure. And make no mistake, this was an attack on their military infrastructure. In particular, an enemy attack that disrupts the operation of nuclear forces, threatening Russia's ability to respond, could lead Vladimir Putin ordering an atomic strike. Zelensky said on social media that the operation had an absolutely brilliant result, adding that it was one that was achieved only by Ukraine. Zelensky is saying that they had no help. Now, I don't believe that's true. I think most people who are watching this believe that clearly Ukraine had some help. He said in the post, 1 year, 6 months, and 9 days from the start of planning to effective execution, is what Zelensky says. The Ukrainian media claiming more than 40 Vladimir Putin aircraft had been hit, including various airplanes and strategic bombers, etc. The damage to the enemy was alleged to exceed $1.5 billion, but I've seen $1.5, $5, $7, $8, $10 billion. So I really don't know. But what I do know is that this is a very big deal. And I think they're supposed to speak today, aren't they?
That's correct, in Istanbul.
So,
Turkey.
you know that, Ukraine, if Russia actually shows up, Ukraine is going to be walking in there, chest held out, shoulders high. You know what I'm talking about? Because of what they did. Now, I don't believe that I don't believe that Russia will show up to these talks, but if they do, then I believe that this is Zelensky sending a very clear message to Russia. And that is that we now have this capability. And so Vladimir Putin, who really has refused to negotiate, make no mistake, both sides of the Russia-Ukraine war refused to negotiate. But I believe that when Donald Trump and Zelensky were at the Pope's funeral and they were pictured inside the Vatican alone, middle of a massive, huge room, and they were just there in the middle of the room. And yeah, I thought it was a photo op too, but there was an actual conversation taking place. And I just wonder if that was when Trump and Zelensky perhaps came up with this plan. But I don't know. But most people are saying there's no way the Ukraine could pull this off all by themselves. There's just no way. There's no doubt that Donald Trump has tired of Vladimir Putin. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. Because Trump understands that Putin has no intention of stopping or abiding by ceasefires, etc. He just doesn't. And so it would make sense to me that Trump would do anything he can to try and hasten some sort of a peace deal. And if this actually does that, well, then that's great. Here's the worry, and here's the problem, is that Putin has now been humiliated. So for him to come to some sort of a negotiated peace deal now, I don't see that happening because Putin has to now exact some revenge on Ukraine. Whether that's nuclear, I don't know. I hope not. But make no mistake, this is a major, major development in the war between Ukraine and Russia. Who helped Ukraine? Was it the U.S.? Was it Europe? Was it, NATO? Who was it? Maybe we'll find out someday, but maybe we'll never know. 7:16, time to check the roads on WTN. .717 on Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather for today, no rain. High of 88, partly cloudy as well. I think, 67 degrees now at Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. All right, real quick. I've got Jonathan Fahey coming up at 7:36, and we're going to go into some detail on just how much trouble Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell could be in for doxing those ICE agents. This was a big story over the last couple of days. Of course, I was on vacation. Now, Freddie O'Connell, and I don't think that anybody believes O'Connell when he says, that whole doxing thing, Yeah, or bad.
It was never the intent of the executive order for those names to be posted. They were removed as soon as we were made aware that they had been posted. We're working on new safeguards and procedures to avoid it happening again.
Well, I don't think that anybody believes him, but here's the thing. Because as the story goes, this was a report on Freddie O'Connell and his administration on the ICE raids here in Nashville. And just, isn't that amazing? The names of those ICE agents were within this report. And, of course, the mayor says, well, the second we saw that those names were on that report, then we pulled it back down and we pulled out those names. We blacked out those names, redacted the names. Well, obviously, they're out. And so I would say to Freddie O'Connell, you either did this on purpose, which I believe he did it on purpose, or his administration is so incredibly stupid and inept that they allowed this to happen. I mean, that clearly is the bottom line. Marsha Blackburn, of course, as you know, Congressman Andy Ogles has been calling for a congressional investigation. Now, Marsha Blackburn, this was on Friday, I believe, was also calling for an investigation.
The issue with that is the names were out there, and there are thousands of screenshots of this. So the names are out there. The damage has been done.
Absolutely, it has been done. And I think we all know, at least if you listen to WTN, then you are more than likely conservative, and you believe, as I do, that Afton Bain and Mayor Freddie O'Connell, they are in this trying to protect these gangbangers, and part of what they're trying to do is do everything they can to prevent ICE from doing their jobs. And everybody knows that it was Mayor O'Connell that signed that executive order demanding that any city employee or any city agency that hears from ICE notify his office. And I said this from the very beginning, you cannot trust Mayor Freddie O'Connell with that information. The doxing of these ICE agents is absolute proof that that is true, that you cannot trust Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell. House Speaker Cameron Sexton was on Murphy's show on Friday, and he, for one, wants answers.
When you get to the point of releasing names of the agents who were involved in this, whether it's one or multiple, it really doesn't matter at that point how many it is. One's too many. And one of them may have been someone who was undercover. It's a problem, and it's against the law. You can't do it. It's not allowed, and it shouldn't be done. And so the question is, why was it? What happened? Where did the process fail? What was the procedure? Who's responsible for it?
Well, who is responsible? Obviously, it's Mayor O'Connell. It is the mayor's office that is responsible. They put out the report. And again, if this wasn't, hey, Jay, or maybe you know KGB, has Mayor O'Connell or his office, have they apologized to these ICE agents who were doxxed by the mayor's office?
I think they made a public, oopsie daisy, but I don't think
No, but did they apologize?
I do not think so.
No, I have not seen any out-and-out apology. They're just saying, oh, gosh, it was a mistake.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so I would like to, on 100,000 watts of radio, I would like to ask anyone from O'Connell's administration here in the city of Nashville, why has there not been a direct apology to those ICE agents whose lives are now at risk because of Mayor Freddie O'Connell? That's my question. The other question is, okay, give us the name, Mr. Mayor, of who accidentally did this. Because he's talking about, transparency, 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 right? That's what the mayor is always calling for, is transparency. All right, in the name of transparency, Mayor O'Connell, please tell us who it is that accidentally, air quoting, accidentally leaked these names, and tell us how this happened.
You would assume that Metro Legal Counsel would at least have seen it before it went out. There's just a lot of questions. And so, I don't want to rush to judgment quick. The names got released. We do know that. But I want some more information about it. But, this year we passed the bill that we talked about that said if you violate state law, if you're a city or county, you violate state law or state constitution, then the state can withhold your shared sales tax dollars. And so, we're serious about it. We're not going to put up with that.
Part of the reason I believe why there's such an outcry over this, not only obviously here in the state of Tennessee, but also nationwide, is because Tennessee is a red state big time. Voted for Donald Trump in major numbers. Donald Trump got 64% of the vote in our state. So you have a blue city, Nashville, in a red state. So I'd have this note to Mayor O'Connell. You're not in Illinois. You're not in the state of New York. You're not in California, where those governors and those state legislatures will do everything they can to protect you. This is Tennessee, where we have a very conservative state legislature. And you just heard Cameron Sexton on Matt Murphy's show on Friday. They want answers. Where also in Tennessee, we have an oddly quiet Republican governor who might possibly think about holding you accountable as well. State Representative Afton Bain also came up in the discussion between Murphy's show and Cameron Sexton. And the speaker said, yeah, there could be investigations into her as well.
It's not a game.
Right.
You have illegal people who are here committing crimes, creating more victims, killing people, raping people. It is not a laughing matter to get those people out of our country.
Amen.
And definitely out of our state.
So,
and when you're doing that, you're mocking the legal system and the judicial system that supposedly that they're okay with until it's something that they don't like.
All right, it's 7:25 on Nashville's Morning News. We'll have to see if there is an apology from the O'Connell administration to the ICE agents that were doxxed by his administration. Let's see, 7:25, Jay Harper has the news at 7:30. Jay.
A newly discovered data breach that may be the biggest one ever. Air quality alerts in parts of the U.S. will tell you why. And yes, a black bear found dead in Gallatin. We'll have those stories at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7.26, friends, if you are maxed out on credit cards, if you're struggling with high interest debt, you could pay it all off in just days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Dan Mandis here. Get cash out right now without touching your low rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, and no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto is amazing. Now, one Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, they renovated their kitchen, and they cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That is a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Find them online. It is loanpronto.com, 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780. Get debt relief right now with Loan Pronto. Loanpronto.com, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Stoltz Co. Listen, they are the leading pole barn builders here in the state of Tennessee. We like to call them the premier pole barn builders here in the state of Tennessee. Now, what is a pole barn? Well, a pole barn is anything you want it to be. They've got a lot of flexibility. You can use it as a garage, an event space, an equestrian building. You could just live in it. The deal is a pole barn from Stoltz Co. It's going to increase the value of your land big time. And again, you can use a pole barn for pretty much anything. And again, you can live in them. We do call those barn dominiums. You could plan ahead and build your retirement home. And I'm telling you what, Stoltz Co., they can help you today. Now, a lot of folks, even in the city, use these barn dominiums as sort of a getaway home out in the country. So call Stoltz Co. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. By the way, they are now expanding, and their homes are now, Stoltz Co., more turnkey than ever. 615-622-5992, 615-622-5992. You can also find their handiwork on Instagram and Facebook or at their website, stoltzco.com.
Good morning. It's 7:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, a traffic report, a weather report. They're coming up, and it's going to get hot. The latest data breach is a big one and maybe the biggest ever. ABC's Jim Ryan says it should serve as a reminder to anyone with an Apple device, a Facebook presence, or a Google account.
It's time to change your passwords and update your devices. A massive data breach that compromised more than 184 million passwords is being called a cyber criminal's dream. Online researchers say the leak affected everything from email accounts to social media logins to bank accounts. The problem? The file containing all that sensitive information was itself not password protected.
The database containing this information was discovered by a security researcher named Jeremiah Fowler. It's not clear where or how the data was collected. A new round of hazy smoke entering the U.S. this week from Canada, where wildfires have raged there for quite some time. ABC's Alex Perez is in Minneapolis, where the air quality is deteriorating along with other parts of the upper Midwest, and it could make its way this direction.
Officials say, thankfully, this current round of wildfire smoke is not as bad as what we saw back in 2023. But nonetheless, authorities are asking people to monitor those air quality alerts and take them seriously, especially for children under 5 and adults with compromised conditions. Experts say they should stay inside and should consider limiting their time outdoors.
A black bear was indeed found dead this morning beside Vietnam Veterans Boulevard in Gallatin. Sumner County officials say the bear was found between exits 12 and 14. Authorities have not confirmed if it's the same animal that was seen in Bethpage here a few days ago. Officials have told News 2 last week that it was the first bear sighting in the area in over a decade. Law enforcement, they're still on the scene. We've been talking about it during the traffic reports. We've got police activity on Vietnam Vets eastbound there in the area of Exit 12. It's assumed that the animal was struck by a vehicle, but police are indeed investigating. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
7:32 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7. The guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate is the easiest way to sell your home. You can save time, make the most money, and eliminate all of the hassle this summer. Dan Mandis here. You know, I always recommend Mark Spain Real Estate here in Nashville, my friends and my family, because I can trust that they will sell your home hassle-free, and you'll eventually get a strong all-cash offer. Got to tell you, this is a company that I trust. I've been representing them for years. You know, the Wall Street Journal and Real Trends, they have consistently named Mark Spain Real Estate as a top real estate team in the U.S. for now 8 years in a row, including being ranked the #1 real estate team in the nation for closed transactions for 5 consecutive years. Find them online. It is Mark Spain Real Estate, markspainrealestate.com. They've been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years. And yes, they have served over 67,000 satisfied clients. Find them online, markspain.com. .735, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Want to tell you about my friends at Specialty Coatings. Now, if you're a business owner, if you have concrete floors and you know that your floors need a little love, well, my friends at Specialty Coatings, they can help you. Now, they specialize in concrete floor coatings and polished concrete as well. You know, they've been doing this, Specialty Coatings. They've been doing this for 30 years. Now, you've probably, to be honest, walked on some of their incredible concrete floor coatings. They're in all the major sports stadiums, arenas, and convention centers as well. You know, just last year, Specialty Coatings in Nashville installed over 1 million square feet of coatings for businesses across Tennessee. Now, those buildings include manufacturing, warehouses, airplane hangars, retail, and so much more. Specialty Coatings isn't some fly-by-night company. A couple of guys show up with a bucket and a roller. No. They got the equipment and the skilled installers to do your job right. It's going to be on time and on budget. No matter how bad your floor looks now, Specialty Coatings can fix it. And each project is customized to your building and your business and your building's needs. So call them 615-591-9491 for Specialty Coatings. 615-591-9491. You can also email them sales@specialtycoat.com. That's sales@specialtycoat.com.
Some police activity being reported. Interstate 440 westbound near exit 6. Both the left and right shoulder are blocked. We're seeing fairly considerable volume delays coming down from the north near Millersville, 65 southbound, also westbound on Vietnam Vets, and as we have the 6524 merge there north of the city near Trinity Lane, seeing a pretty good backup there as well. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.739 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Welcome on in to a Monday, June 2nd. And this is Freddie O'Connell, Mayor Freddie O'Connell.
I am not particularly concerned. We're going to, again, respond appropriately to all inquiries, and we have been guided by full understanding of state and federal law, and will continue to be.
All right, so it sounds like Jonathan Fahey, of course, former acting director of ICE under Trump's first administration, it sounds like our fair mayor here in Nashville isn't really concerned about the fact that Congress, Republicans in judiciary and also Homeland Security is now investigating or going to be investigating his administration. I know that, Jonathan, you've heard that the mayor's office and Mayor Freddie O'Connell actually doxed some ICE agents in a report that they released last week. Should the mayor of Nashville be concerned?
Yeah, I do question the advice he's been getting if he thinks he doesn't have anything to worry about, because it is quite concerning, and I think he has a lot to worry about. Putting aside the congressional investigation, there's certain federal felony violations that certainly should be looked into. One is obstruction of justice, because what they're doing is clearly intended to prevent these ICE agents from doing their job. And the second one is alien harboring. He's doing this for the sole purpose of keeping illegal aliens in the country. Then that's what the statute says. You're doing things to shield, conceal, and the conduct is so beyond outrageous, because he's putting these ICE agents in danger, which is horrible because they're already in a lot of danger, particularly with the Democratic, rising the rhetoric lately, but also the community of Nashville and the surrounding area in the United States, because if it makes it harder for them to get the dangerous criminals, these dangerous criminals are out on the street victimizing American citizens. So everything about this is outrageous. But again, I don't understand the advice he's getting, because, I don't want to give him advice, but it's a little surprising to me, because I think they're going to be opening, criminal investigations, and there's a lot there, and those are going to involve interviewing lots of witnesses, subpoenaing lots of documents. It's going to be very uncomfortable, and at the end of it, he may regret not only what he just said, but what he's been doing.
Well, I know that, ICE and Tom Homan, he is famous for saying things like, if you don't want to help us, then get out of our way. And he has threatened, and he has said, I will go after and arrest, and we will try to prosecute those that do get in our way. Let me ask you, Jonathan, because I know that you watch these things. So you have cities like Chicago in Illinois. So you've got a blue city in a blue state. You've got New York, right? So Manhattan, New York, whatever, where you've got a blue city within a blue state. You've got Los Angeles and San Francisco in a blue state, blue cities and blue states. Well, Nashville is a blue city in a very red state. So does that change the dynamic at all? Because there's not going to be a state legislature or a governor, in my opinion, that is going to save Freddie O'Connell. So does that make any difference in the dynamic here?
I think in a lot of ways it probably does, because he's not going to have the overall community support, overall, political support. And also, if this case is, if he's ultimately charged with offenses, he may not have sort of the favorable jury pool or other things, or favorable judges that some of these other places may have. So I think he's in a real, predicament here, and you think the better move would be change course, say he's going to cooperate. But I think the day of reckoning for all these sanctuary cities is coming. I mean, you saw the letter that DHS sent out, I think it was like mid to late last week, basically putting them all on notice about the federal offenses, including alien harboring, that they arguably are committing. And I think ultimately they've been, they haven't acted on it yet, but I think somebody is going to be made an example of, or some municipality. And, we're going to break down these sanctuary cities are going to be the ones that start cooperating, and the ones that wish they did, because it's not going to be pleasant for them. And there's a lot there. And I think if they dig into it, they'll even find even a lot more conduct that's egregious and unlawful, and there'll be a lot of people held accountable. But ultimately, back to your question, yeah, I think it probably puts him in a worse situation for those very reasons. And he really should just change course, start cooperating, because that's what the law is, and his job is not to uphold federal law, but not to obstruct federal law either.
Jonathan Fahey is joining us, former acting director of ICE under Trump's first administration. I got a couple more questions for you, Jonathan, namely going to talk a little bit about some of these groups that have been receiving funding from the city of Nashville. The question is, where is this funding coming from, where it's going, and can you actually do audits on this funding? That and a couple of other questions as well as we continue to cover this ever-evolving story. It is 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather for today, no rain, high of 88, partly cloudy as well. Right now, 68 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jonathan Fahey, former acting director of ICE under Trump's first administration. Jonathan, so let me ask you, I know that these groups are everywhere. Cities have these groups. Every blue city has these pro-illegal immigration type of organizations, and they get funding from federal grants. So the federal government will give grants to local communities, and then local communities disperse this funding to these basically these organizations that like to aid and abet and hide illegal aliens. And so, you know, we here at WTN, I mean, I believe that I speak for all the conservatives in the town and in the state who are asking for a really good forensic audit to make sure that federal funds are not going to these types of organizations. But, you know, in all the years that you've been watching this, I think that we all know that the federal funding does ultimately can be traced from taxpayer dollars to these organizations that aid and abet illegal immigration.
Yeah, isn't that just shocking and appalling that we as taxpayers pay groups to undermine our laws and to do things to make us less safe and ultimately actually just benefit the Democratic Party, which is like, you know, when you look at all these cuts and DOJ, and it's like, yeah, part of our government seems to be propping up the Democratic Party because they can't win on, you know, issues. They need all of these other help. But yeah, I think they should be audited. And I think these groups, again, like you said, if they're aiding and abetting or basically conspiring to commit alien harboring, if their whole purpose is to enact things to keep people in the country illegally, shielding them from ICE, that's alien harboring, and that's worth looking into. And when you do that, you can subpoena their records, their finances, the people involved, interview everyone there. Because yeah, if they're acting in a way to violate the law, to make it harder to enforce the law, they've got a real problem there, and these things should be looked into. And again, it's just so outrageous that we, in many ways, pay for our own demise with some of these groups.
Did you see that it looks like ICE raided the office of Jerry Nadler and detained? This happened actually last week. I think it happened on like Wednesday, and this just, I don't know, it seemed like it was breaking news over the weekend. But the headline from the Daily Mail, chaos erupts as ICE raids office of top Democrat Jerry Nadler and detained a staffer. And I'm just wondering if this is sort of a warning shot for the rest of these people, whether at the federal level or at the local level, that, you know what, if you get in the way of ICE doing our job, we'll raid your offices too.
Yeah, I think we're getting to a head with these things because, again, under the same principle, Congress, passes these immigration laws, and then at the same time, the Democratic members of Congress do everything they can to prevent the enforcement of these laws. And, I do think it's coming. And you've seen the Democrats really ratchet things up lately. I mean, now it's just standard. It seems like a standard talking point to call ICE agents members of the Gestapo, because it wasn't just, Governor Tim Walz. I think there's other people doing it as well. So they've really ratcheted up the rhetoric. They've purely condoned violence against ICE agents. I don't think anyone has stood up against the congresswoman that was arrested and the others that were assaulting ICE agents. Every Democrat lined up behind her, and none of them lined up behind the ICE agent, which is truly appalling. Even if your view on immigration is whatever it is, I think you should stand up for law enforcement. But they never miss an opportunity to defame law enforcement, and now they support assaults on them. But I do think it's coming. It's coming to a head in a lot of ways, and I think these politicians, are probably going to have to learn, a tough lesson if they keep obstructing law enforcement. They can say whatever they want, and that's their job, but they can't obstruct, and I think that's the line that's being crossed in some of these cases.
Is this the kind of thing, Jonathan? I got a two-part question. Number one. So is this the kind of thing, let's say that, ICE comes in and they ultimately, in Homeland Security and judicial and all, they come in and decide that Mayor O'Connell did break the law, and perhaps maybe another state representative, Afton Bain, who basically did some other like things to help the illegal aliens evade ICE. So is this the kind of thing that might ultimately go to the Supreme Court I mean, or is this just basically, look, you broke the law. This is the law. This has already been vetted judicially, and now you're going to have to pay the consequences.
Yeah, I don't know what the sort of Supreme Court issue would be there. They probably sort of say some sort of immunity as their job as mayor, some sort of separation of powers issues. But I don't think it would really ultimately work or go to the Supreme Court, because it's just simply a mayor, if the facts are true, if they're enacting policies to harbor illegal aliens and to obstruct justice, I think that's really something that would just be prosecuted on its own and on its merits. Certainly, he would get the high-powered lawyers, and they probably try just like they're doing with a judge in Wisconsin, trying to actually create issues that aren't there. But ultimately, this is pretty straightforward. He sees a federal law he doesn't like. He thinks it's to his advantage within the Democratic Party to do these things, which in fact it is. It elevates him in the party. And so I don't, but there is really not it's not like this is a state issue versus a federal issue. He is injecting himself into the federal law enforcement to try to prevent it. And that's something that's not permissible under any theory that I can see or think of.
Let me ask you this, and I'm not a lawyer. Clearly you are, but the mayor came out and he said, oops, it was our bad that we doxed these ICE agents. And he didn't apologize. Is there a legal reason why the mayor cannot simply come out and say, oops, my bad, we're sorry that we put your lives in danger? Is there a legal reason why he can't simply apologize to these ICE agents?
My guess is he doesn't want to make admissions that they did something wrong or that it was intentional and things like that. So he's trying to walk that fine line, because, if he admits that it was intentional, it sort of goes into these obstruction, charge that, okay, you did this intentionally, so you were trying to thwart them in doing their duties and also put them in danger. So I think that's probably the reason. But I think politically and even legally, he'd probably still be better off saying, hey, this was a mistake. I apologize. These guys are out there working hard to keep us safe, and we should do everything we can to keep them safe. I think that would help him a lot, quite honestly. But I think he's getting legal advice, and who knows how it will unfold, but it may not put him in the best situation down the road.
All right, Jonathan Fahey, former acting director of ICE under Trump's first administration. Appreciated. People can follow you on Twitter or X, John for Fairfax, and it's all spelled out, JONFOR FAIRFAX. John for Fairfax on X. And Jonathan Fahey, as always, appreciate you being here on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. It is 7:53. And Jay Harper is in the WTN newsroom, and he's got the latest today.
A story for you, kind of interesting as to what the Texas legislature has done, and it affects their local sheriffs accepting some federal responsibility. Interesting stuff. And we'll also have more on the proposed meeting between Russian and Ukrainian delegations. Supposed to happen today. We'll have those stories coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here. Listen, friends, if you own a BMW, an Audi, Mercedes-Benz, a Porsche, any European car, then you've got a great place to get it serviced and repaired. Renstall here in Nashville. Now, Renstall offers the best technicians, the latest and greatest diagnostic equipment, and yes, they are dedicated to customer service. Now, this is dealer-level service, but as they like to say, family-level care and honest pricing, not a corporate mindset. Just a family business helping out our neighbors and friends by delivering honesty, respect, and yes, exceptional service as well. Now at Renstall, they are locally owned and operated, exclusively working on all European vehicles. Now, Renstall also proudly offers the Heroes Service Discount. So that means if you're a veteran, active duty military, first responder, emergency medical personnel, all get a 10% discount on all repairs. Now, me, I'm not a veteran. I'm not a first responder. I'm a simple talk show host. But I love the fact that they do offer the Heroes Service Discount because what that does is that tells you the kind of people they are. Conveniently located across the street from the Academy of Country Music, 5 minutes from Music Road, 2 minutes from downtown. And this is a place you want to go if you own a European car. Call them and make an appointment today at 615-777-7100. 615-777-7100. The website, itrustmymechanic.com, itrustmymechanic.com.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. I'm Jay Harper in for Joan Jones. I've got your top stories. We'll have traffic and weather for you here momentarily. Russian and Ukrainian delegations, they're set to meet in Istanbul today in an attempt to establish a ceasefire in the more than 3-year-long war. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in Lithuania for a summit with the leaders of NATO's Eastern and Nordic members today talked about Ukraine's goals in those Istanbul talks.
For us, very important is ceasefire, unconditional, of course, ceasefire and humanitarian issues as to bring back adopted children and of course, exchange of warriors.
Back here in the U.S., in the final hours of the Texas legislature session, lawmakers have taken a historically federal responsibility and handed it over to local sheriffs. We've got more now from Jim Ryan.
Sheriff's deputies in larger Texas counties will be required to help federal authorities with immigration enforcement. Republican lawmakers like A.J. Louderback support the idea.
It saves lives and puts criminals behind bars.
Democrat Ramon Romero Jr. fears unintended consequences.
Innocent people, including U.S. citizens like we see every day on social media, begin to pay the price.
State leaders have long complained that the federal government wasn't doing enough to halt illegal border crossings.
Here in Middle Tennessee, an investigation is underway after a deadly shooting at the Clarksville Speedway and Fairgrounds on Saturday night. According to Clarksville police, off-duty officers were there working security at the fair and reported hearing gunshots coming from the parking lot near the venue's entrance at about 9 o'clock Saturday. Authorities said additional police responded to the scene and found a 15-year-old victim with a gunshot wound to the chest. He was taken to the hospital, but he later died. Witnesses at the scene said that they saw 5 or 6 young men running from the area after the shooting. Police also urge anyone in that immediate area that may have surveillance cameras, please check your footage. And if you see anything suspicious, please call Clarksville Police. Back here, closer to home in Nashville, one person injured in a shootout outside an Airbnb in the Cumberland Heights area of town. The Airbnb where the shootout happened is located on Fern Avenue at the intersection of Brick Church Pike. Metro Police said a robbery happened inside the Airbnb early this morning, which led to 2 people exchanging gunfire outside the Airbnb. One person was hit in the leg. The second person ran away from the scene, according to police. One person was transported to the hospital, but officers on the scene did not specify if the person transported was the victim or the suspect. That's the latest news. Weather's next, and traffic report as well. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. In the Donaldson area, we've got some backups here. Briley Parkway, both north and southbound at Elm Hill Pike. The ramps are backed up onto Briley Parkway, and there are other delays in that area between Briley Parkway and Atrium Way on Elm Hill Pike. Police are investigating. They're thinking that the traffic lights may be out there that's causing this disruption to traffic. And we've also got stop-and-go traffic, 40 westbound between Donaldson Pike and Briley Parkway. Heavier than normal delays due to this stuff going on Elm Hill Pike. So something disrupting things there. And again, they're thinking the traffic lights may be the problem. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so this has to be one of the craziest. Joe Biden was clearly losing his mind in the White House stories that I've heard. So I don't know, Jay, I want, and KGB, do you believe this is true? Because this seems literally too hard for me to believe. This is Josh Hawley. He was on Fox News, and he's talking about the diminishing mental cognition of one Joe Biden. Listen to this.
Listen, I'll tell you something that I haven't said before because it came from a Secret Service whistleblower this past year. I talked to so many of them after the attempted assassinations of President Trump. But this Secret Service whistleblower actually was assigned to Biden, and he told me that Biden used to get lost in his closet in the mornings in the White House. No. I mean, the guy literally stumbling around in the White House residence couldn't find his way out of his own closet. The president of the United States. I mean, this is outrageous.
True or false?
Okay.
Is anybody going to call? Is Jay back there? I don't know if Jay's
He's not back there, but I'll react to this because that's okay. We understand he's not all there. We have confirmed this
clearly.
But that seems a little like you can't. No
He
one
got lost in his own closet.
Yeah, like I don't know. That seems a little far fetched.
Here's
Unless the closet is huge and it has multiple like hallways, I don't know how else you can get lost.
So
like a Scooby-Doo closet.
I think that Josh Hawley is great, but here's why I believe that is not true. Don't get mad at me, but hear me out. I don't believe that that's true because clearly somebody had to get the man dressed in the morning, so somebody would help him find his way out of the closet. And do you really think that Joe Biden was picking his own clothes? Come on, people, he couldn't even tie his shoes.
But think about it like this. Someone, a whistleblower, quote unquote, said this to him. Do you think the guy might have been just exaggerating? Oh, he even got lost in his closet. He was so clueless and just went, oh, he got lost in his closet. Do you think it was just an exaggeration that turned, like, they made into a story?
I don't know.
That seems like the most logical reason.
Okay, think about it this way. The man couldn't find his way off a small stage.
Hey, that's true.
Think about that.
Oh, my God.
Right? Very small stage. And so Biden, when he wasn't trying to, shake hands or find, dead Congress people, he was trying to figure out how to get off the stage.
Okay, here's another theory. Do you think he froze up in this closet like Mitch McConnell does in interviews and just people thought he got lost, but in reality he's just like completely frozen?
I don't know. See, look at
There's so many logical theories to this.
That's the thing. Nothing would surprise me. When we talked about presidential poopy pants.
I was about to say,
remember?
We believe that he pooped himself in front of the Pope, for goodness
That's exactly right. And so nothing would surprise
Nothing's
us.
off the table. That's the crazy part is we actually cannot say it's not unbelievable.
No,
that's the crazy
exactly
part.
Right. All right. There you go. What do people think on the super text line?
I bet they think it's true. Let's see.
1393. Wow, they're coming in.
Maybe he confused the closet for the bathroom.
1393. He couldn't make it off a stage with arrows on the floor pointing where to go. I believe it 100%. See, exactly what Dan just said. Great minds, 1393. Great minds. By the way, speaking of great minds, I want to talk a little bit about Scott Bessent. Now, Margaret Brennan, right? I think she's CBS, right? Margaret Brennan on CBS. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, absolutely destroys Margaret Brennan. He is on as, of course, a guest. And she starts going down this road of inflation and the cost of goods going up to because of Donald Trump's tariffs, right? Listen to how, and it's a little over a minute, but it is just a masterclass in how to handle hostile questioning from a hostile journalist. This is Scott Bessent and Margaret Brennan on CBS.
We wanted to make sure that there aren't price increases, Margaret, and thus far there have been no price increases. Everything has been alarmist, that the inflation numbers are actually dropping. We saw the first drop of inflation in 4 years. The inflation numbers last week, they were very pro-consumer.
Right. But you listen to earnings calls just like we do. Mm-hmm. You know what Walmart's saying, what Best Buy's saying, and what Target are saying.
But Margaret, I also know what Home Depot and Amazon are saying. I know what the South China Morning Post wrote within the past 24 hours, that 65% of the tariffs will likely be eaten by the Chinese producers.
The reality is there will either be less inventory or things at higher prices or both.
Margaret, when we were here in March, you said there was going to be big inflation. There hasn't been any inflation. Actually, the inflation numbers are the best in 4 years. So why don't we stop trying to say this could happen and wait and see what does happen?
Oh, just burn at the end there. This is from the New York Post. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent took a victory lap Sunday over recent inflation numbers that show a key benchmark hitting a 4-year low, hailing it as vindication against those naysayers who predicted President Trump's tariffs would cause prices to soar. Now, remember what I've been saying forever now, and that is that I've never seen a group of people, the Democrats or the media, wishing and hoping for your financial distress than this current crop of Democrats and members of the media. They've been wishing and hoping because they want what is worse for Donald Trump, even if it impacts you negatively. New York Post continuing, Bessent gently dinged. By the way, I think I posted this on X. If you look at Bessent's face, he's basically, with the look on his face, calling her a flippin' idiot. I mean, you can tell. I've seen that face a few times. Bessent gently dinged CBS Face the Nation anchor Margaret Brennan for asking him skeptical questions back in March about studies by the Peterson Institute and other groups that predicted tariffs would spur inflation. Now, I'm just going to tell you, obviously, we know that many economists have said that we have not yet seen the impacts of the tariffs. So obviously, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But I do like what Bessent said at the end. It was actually my favorite part of the interview.
So why don't we stop trying to say this could happen and wait and see what does happen?
Exactly. Thank you, Scott Bessent. This is why he is so incredibly popular within the Trump administration. But that's not all that he had to say. Got a lot more straight ahead. It is 8:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. At 8:15, as far as your weather goes, a high of 88, partly cloudy. Right now, 68, Super Talk 99.7, WTN. So a lot of people in the media talking about Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Margaret Brennan over there on CBS. Some of the media are talking about how he did school Brennan. And I think part of the issue is that, and it's a big part, is that her tone can be so accusatory. I want you to listen to how she asks the question of Scott Bessent.
But you listen to earnings calls just like we do. You know what Walmart's saying, what Best Buy's saying, and what Target are saying.
I mean, there are, and let me tell you something. I mean, I'm a recovering journalist, but at the very least, by and large, and I know that my questions can be rather long-winded, but there are ways to ask questions where it's actually fair to the person that you're interviewing. And in the case of Margaret Brennan interviewing Scott Bessent, you can hear the aggression in the voice of Margaret Brennan. And he totally, absolutely slaps her down. And so there's all these stories that said that, you know, all of these different retailers will be raising prices and so forth. But, you know, part of what Scott Bessent said is that Home Depot, he mentioned Home Depot. Home Depot has literally said they will not be raising prices. Now, some items they did say, just to give you the full and complete story, Home Depot said that some items might disappear for a while, but prices by and large will not be going up. Now, Bessent did mention Amazon, and that one has me a little confused because Amazon has actually said that the prices will go up on some items. Now, if Amazon has come back and said, well, no, that's not the case, well, then that's news to me, but I have been gone for a week, and there's a lot going on. He mentioned the South China Post. Scott Bessent mentioned the South China Post. They reported that U.S. companies are asking Chinese companies to shoulder the cost of the tariffs. And so part of what he is trying to tell Margaret Brennan is and I've been saying this since day one, and I'm not a highly paid CBS television journalist, but I've been saying since day one, we have to wait and see because we have never tried what Donald Trump is trying to do with the tariffs and the tax cuts and the this and the that and all the other things that he is trying. We've never done this before. So for Bessent, I love how he puts her in, quite frankly, her place. They also went over Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, which most people are saying will increase the deficit by trillions of dollars over the years. Now, Scott Bessent said, fake news.
One of the reasons I'm sitting here talking to you today and not at home watching your show is that I was concerned about the level of debt. So the deficit this year is going to be lower than the deficit last year, and in 2 years it will be lower again. We are going to bring the deficit down slowly. We didn't get here in 1 year.
Yep.
We didn't get here in 1 year,
yep.
And this has been a long process. So the goal is to bring it down over the next 4 years, leave the country in great shape in 2028.
Right. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to wait and see where it goes. Now, I have very mixed emotions about the big, beautiful bill. I do, because I love some of the stuff. I love a lot of the things that are in it. I love the means testing for people on Medicaid. I love the fact that illegal aliens will no longer be allowed to be on Medicaid. I love cutting out all of that Green New Deal crap. There's probably some stuff in there that I absolutely hate. I love all the illegal immigration crackdowns. I love a lot of the things that are in it. Problem is, does it spend a lot of money? It does. But Bessent, he and Trump, they're rolling up their sleeves and they're basically saying, just shut up and watch and learn. And so that's what I'm going to do. Am I worried about it? Absolutely. Are a lot of you folks worried about it as well? You know, you folks that, you know, would consider yourself like a deficit hawk? Are you concerned about it? Absolutely you are. Do I absolutely love the tax breaks that are in there? The extension of the Trump tax cuts, the no tax on tips and all that other stuff? I love that. I do. But what is it going to do to our economy as a nation? And you just heard Scott Bessent say, just watch us and see what we do and see where we go from here. And you know what? Here's what I'm going to say. I trust Donald Trump. I trust Scott Bessent. And I believe that they know what they're doing. And so we'll have to just sit down, shut up, and see where this whole thing goes. I can't wait to watch it, as a matter of fact. Got a lot of people that are hand-wringing over the midterm elections right there with you. We'll have to simply wait and see. By the way, he also spoke a little bit about China and this possibility of decoupling with China. That's what a lot of people are saying, that, we want to decouple with China. Pete Hegseth had said something about that, actually, over the last couple of days. And Besson set the record straight on decoupling with China. Here's part of what he said.
Well, I don't think it's intentional. I think that what Secretary Hegseth did was remind everyone that during COVID, China was an unreliable partner, and what we are trying to do is to de-risk. We do not want to decouple, Margaret, but we do need to de-risk, as we saw during COVID, whether it was with semiconductors, medicines, the other products. We are in the process of de-risking.
Making the United States less reliant on China, but at the same time,
and the whole world. The whole world, because what China is doing is they are holding back products that are essential for the industrial supply chains of India, of Europe, and that is not what a reliable partner does.
He is absolutely right. I mean, do I need to tell you once again, like I have been for years now, about how much of our medicines are made in China? About how much of our generic drugs are made out of India? But, I mean, focus on China. And look what they did to the world with COVID. Do we really want to get further in bed with China? No, I don't either. 822, Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. Jay Harper's in the WTN newsroom. Jay, what's coming up at 8:30?
Yes, Dan, Senate debate on the big, beautiful bill. And we'll also have this morning's money news. That comes up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$8:22, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Today is actually a very big day. I'm getting my bathroom remodeled. We're going to talk about that in a second. But, my upstairs bathtub, literally, I kid you not, my upstairs bathtub, it has holes in it. It's really ugly, and it needs a lot of work. Enter my friends at Zintex. Now, if you've got a bathtub, like me, that needs work. They have been around Nashville since 2001, and they are here to help you. Now, they can remodel your shower, your bathtub. They can even convert your bathtub into a walk-in shower. Now, it's a big project that, yes, it can increase the value of your home, and Zintex can have it wrapped up in literally a day. Now, they're an award-winning company that offers limited lifetime warranties for both their products and their installation. You can make your bathroom safer with a walk-in shower, complete with grab bars and maybe a bench seat as well. This is a great way to help the older folks in your life who need that assist and support. Zintex. So fix, remodel, or convert your tub into a shower today with Zintex. That phone number, tell him Dan told you to reach out, 629-258-7747, 629-258-7747. A great deal going on right now from Zintex. You mentioned me, WTN, and you get $1,750 off or no interest for 24 months, whichever works out best for you. And also, no payments either. Zintex.com is the website, Zintex, Zintex.com. 825, Nashville's Morning News. I think I've been going on, 3-4 years now at the Glock store and my training. I loved my training at the Glock store. It does continue today. Working with all these instructors, it's an amazing experience at the Glock store. Every time I go, I learn something new. And these days, I'm a more confident shooter thanks to the Glock store. So whether you're an expert or a beginner like me, the Glock store can help you shoot better and more confidently as well. The Shoot 270 indoor ranges, they are unmatched in Middle Tennessee, and so are these instructors at the Glock store. You can learn to shoot around corners in the dark and all the while moving or running around. You know, we like to call those real-life situations. Now go to their website, shoot270.com, and watch the various videos for yourself. I think my shooting videos are still up at shoot270.com. Then sign up for your training. Find them online. 2 great websites. I was telling you about shoot270.com. Also, don't forget about glockstore.com. Again, glockstore.com. For all things two-way, you only need to go to one place, my place, the Glock store in Nashville. $828, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. All right, so Jay and KGB, I know that we're all on the super text line. I had a couple of people send in texts at 615-737-9986, and apparently somebody had unfurled. Oh, here it is. Sean says, Dan, I just drove under a bridge on I-40 there at 24 going towards downtown. He says there is a deadhead-looking guy with a banner over the rail saying 8647. Clearly one of Freddie O'Connell's people, Sean says. I got a couple of people that said that they saw this deadhead-looking guy, which is, I guess...
The Grateful Dead people.
Yeah. Well, you know.
They're a little out there.
Yeah.
Sorry for any deadheads listening.
No. I was going to say, I actually made the mistake of insulting deadheads one time.
Really?
I swore I would never do it again.
I'm still young. I can afford it.
They're a rabid bunch, those deadheads. You say something negative, and they wake up from
The nursing home gets rowdy.
They sure do. Anyway, so yeah, apparently somebody I-40 and 24 had an 8647 sign unfurled. I'm sure that'll get a lot of attention. Anyway, it is 8:30 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 8:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, a weather forecast, a traffic report. They're coming up. Lawmakers in the Senate will be back in Washington later today. At the top of their agenda, debating the sweeping budget and tax bill that's backed by the Trump administration. The bill aims to extend the 2017 tax cut from the president's first term, as well as cutting some food assistance programs and Medicaid. But the bill may face an uphill climb as many Senate Republicans are concerned about the spending in the bill, and Democrats are opposed to the cuts in the bill. Here's more from ABC's Rachel Scott.
Well, the bill promises to slash federal spending by $1.5 trillion. By some estimates, it would add $3.8 trillion to the national deficit over the next 10 years. With cuts to food assistance and Medicaid, more than 8 million Americans projected to lose coverage, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office.
We now have this morning's money news, and for that, here's Jim Ryan.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Tensions between the U.S. and China intensified over the weekend, with each country accusing the other of violating the Geneva Trade Agreement. The rising friction drove down the major stock indexes overnight. The markets finished out last week, meanwhile, with mixed readings. The Dow Jones rose 54 points on Friday to close at 42,270. But the Nasdaq Composite slipped about 0.33%. The S&P 500 was unchanged on the day going into the weekend. Analysts are offering new warnings about the effect of impending tariffs on your grocery bill. With tariffs on steel and aluminum set to rise by 50%, food companies may boost prices to offset the higher cost of packaging. More Americans are finding themselves out of work longer. 1.7 million people have been looking for jobs for at least 6 months, the most in more than 2 years. Economists say companies have cut back on hiring in the face of uncertainty.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
8:32, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. You saw the guy with the sign? Is that what you're telling me? So Chris Hand has just walked into the studio. You didn't hear. He's showing me the picture now. It does. Guy says, and for people that don't know, 8647, right? 86, which was, eliminate 47 Donald Trump. So Guy is, he does look like a deadhead-looking guy. And he's got a blue banner that says 8647. And was traffic backed up there at 40 and 24? A little bit. But the important thing is, did they see the zebra?
We're going to talk about the zebra.
We are going to talk about the zebra. Yeah. All right, very good. Chris Hand is coming up. For the Chris Cross here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. The Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. You know, the weather in Middle Tennessee, it can get crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. The Generator Supercenter does feature expert installation, 24-hour monitoring as well. They're not going to leave you in the dark, and financing is available. Call them, 615-879-1952. The website, GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com. .835 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm very excited to have in the studio.
We've got solutions.
Tony from Cabinet Solutions.
We're the solution. Cabinet Solutions.
Now, I just got to ask this question. When Murphy Show had you on his show, did he play the wonderful jingle that you yourself created?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. All right.
Good.
Little butt-kissing moment from yours truly. Now, the reason why I'm so excited is because I'm back from vacation. We all know how exciting that can be. But also because today, Tony and the crew from My Cabinet Solutions, they're going to come out to in fact, I think they might already be there. And it is my day to finally get my bathroom remodeled with My Cabinet Solutions.
It is your day.
It is my day.
I think they're going to be there in about, 45 minutes or so.
All right, very good.
They're en route.
So it was a great, very easy process. What we did was Amy and I, we went to your warehouse, and it's a fantastic warehouse. You had, all kinds of prices, all kinds of different selection. So if you've got, a big budget like Murphy Show, or maybe a smaller budget like yours truly, then, they've got cabinets for you. You also hooked me up with a great countertop person as well. And the whole process has been really simple, really easy. Your guys have been great to work with, and you came out, you measured really easy. And I'm assuming all the jobs go like that.
Well, we hope to, but sometimes there's a little mistake here and there. But you know what? I've always told people, you find out what a company's like when there is a problem.
Or when they have a great jingle.
We've got solutions.
That's right.
All right, so you actually wrote this jingle.
I did. I had a friend of mine, and we did it in my living room, actually.
Really? So you're an old musician from back in the day?
From back in the day, that's right.
Really? What did you play?
Keyboards.
Okay.
Yep.
Any good? No, because you're doing cabinets now.
That's right. I got fired.
All right, very good. Well, I'm not going to fire you from doing my cabinets today, and I'm very appreciative of you guys helping me out. Tell people the website and any specials you got going on right now.
Well, they can go to mycabinetsolution.com. That's mycabinetsolution.com.
No S.
No S. That's
Okay.
right. And what I tell people to do is just browse around and then go to the contact tab and then fill out a contact form. And that comes directly to me, and I get right back to them and get them in touch with the person they need to talk to.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
One more time.
Solutions.
And I'll see you later on. And Chris Hand is coming up next on WTN.
Thank you, Tony. Awesome, Dan.
Crushed it, man.
Continuing to have problems in Donaldson in the area of Briley Parkway and Elm Hill Pike. Briley Parkway, both north and southbound, kind of snarled up. And Elm Hill Pike, east and westbound, between Briley and Atrium Way, it's kind of snarled up. We've got traffic lights out in the area that's just causing all kind of problems there. We've got a crash in Antioch Pike at Richards Road, out in Bellevue, an injury accident, Charlotte Pike at Highway 70S, and just picking up a crash in the Belmont area. This is on 65 southbound at Wedgwood Avenue. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? Hey, look, Chris Hand is back, too.
What's up?
The boys are back in town.
How was your Disney cruise, Chris?
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome.
See, Dan? He's a good sport.
Guess what? Jeff just cost himself a gift.
Oh. Well, you know what? Worth it.
Was it worth it? Because
because since you both were gone, I got to go to the Glock store on their open house, and that was awesome.
Was it?
Oh, wow. Chris,
look at this.
Did you actually bring gifts?
Oh, wow.
I really did.
Oh, shoot. I didn't get you anything. Actually, no, I did. I just left it at home.
Oh, it was perfect.
I'll give it to you next year.
Does it happen to be your old cabinets?
You can have them.
Here, I got you guys saltwater taffy.
Oh,
I love
snap.
saltwater
Well,
taffy.
too bad. It's too bad
sorry,
you opened your mouth there.
Sorry, bro.
KGB.
I mean, that's just, I lost a lot of Christmas gifts that way growing up as well. So.
And you know what?
I got to tell you something. You have no idea how embarrassing it is buying 15 boxes of saltwater taffy.
Oh, that is so funny. All right, do you have a favorite color of saltwater? Because, you know, they do each have a bit of a different taste.
No.
They're like jelly beans.
I don't have a favorite. And I'll be honest with you, as I'm buying this, I have a creeping RFK voice in the back of my head, like, check the box for food dyes. And I'm like, I shouldn't. So I didn't check. I don't know if they're Maha approved or not, but they're for you.
Listen, it is. Thank you. It is saltwater taffy, and I love it. I haven't had saltwater. You went to the Outer Banks.
Yes.
So everybody knows.
Which is the best. It's the best beach in the world.
Best beach in the world.
Yep.
Absolutely the best beach in the world. So obviously you had a good time?
I had a great time, and I did my best. I really gave it the try to not plug into news all week.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've missed an absolute mountain of information. Did you feel like that too?
I did, but I wasn't able to. I haven't received that audio yet, Jeff. I was not able
Step
to.
it up, Jeff.
Come on, man. I wasn't able to step away as I wish that I could have. I was poolside with Amy, and I had my phone. I had two things to read. A dear listener, Donna, gave me the In and Out book.
Yes. Did you read?
Which was amazing.
Did you read the whole thing?
I did not get through the whole thing, but I read a lot of it. And Donna, thank you. It was amazing because I was going to buy literally that book that day.
That's crazy.
And she came in with donuts in that book. It was insane.
Those donuts were good too.
So we had a lot to talk about, the wife and I, and we had a great time. And it was one of those trips where the news was breaking, and it felt like it was breaking all the time.
Yes.
And so for me, we had a lot of news that we were able to digest and a lot of news that we were able to discuss. Can we talk about real quick the slap heard around the world?
Yes,
the French president.
Yes.
So
that was one of the first things that I saw too, because I'm trying not to pay attention to any news. I'm just trying to be a good dad and a good husband and ignore that stuff.
Right.
But the moment I open up my phone, I see Macron getting just haymakered by his very strong wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Amy and I actually, we kind of I hope this isn't disrespectful, but we Zaprudered the thing, right? So we just
it.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it in slow motion. It was clear because she said it was like a playful, friendly slap.
Don't believe that at all.
Double-handed? No.
I've never in my life had a friendly slap to the face from any women.
No.
That I've known.
And it was the look that he gave the camera post-slap.
Oh,
that
yeah.
gave
It was
all away.
Crap.
He's like, oh, no, I've been found out.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right.
Well, and that whole relationship is weird, right? She was 40 and he was 15. And then there's all the rumors about whether or not she's a she. Have you heard those rumors?
No.
You haven't gone down the Bridget Macron is a man rabbit hole?
Oddly enough, Chris, no.
Really?
No, tell me.
I feel like you would do that. I feel like you would fall into that by accident.
So you think that, the lady is an actual dude?
There's a lot of evidence that points in that direction.
Is there really a lot of evidence?
There's a lot of evidence that points in that direction. It's one of my favorite internet theories. Then you see the way she throws a haymaker.
You know what? Okay, does she have an Adam's apple?
The cutest little Adam's apple I've heard.
Does she have a cute...
That I don't think that quote has ever been said. Cute and Adam's apple in the same sentence.
Oh, maybe she and Michelle Obama were on the same rowing team.
Good Lord.
I'm kidding.
Going for gold. Going for gold.
I'm kidding. Anyway, so yeah, there was one thing that one quote that kept coming up during my vacation.
Why is the rum always gone?
It was, why was the rum? I drank a lot of rum.
Did you?
I did.
Why is the rum always gone?
How much rum did you drink?
I drank a lot. Like if it had a rum and like coconut and like mango and that
You were
kind
off?
of thing. Yeah, you know what? If there was an umbrella to be had,
Why is the rum always gone?
I was drinking it. The reason the rum was all gone is because I was on not a Disney cruise.
I love it. Well, good
Hey.
for you, man.
Yes, I have a question for you. Chris, is it?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull it up here.
Chris, is it? It's been a while.
Yes, it has been a while. Oh, did I close my doggone it thing?
No, Dan, it's dadgummit.
Did I close my dadgummit thing?
We're up to 2.
We are.
Take a drink of your rum.
No, it's okay. You want to talk about the zebra?
Or the bear.
Yeah, or the lunatic on the highway.
Okay, so you saw the lunatic, real quick. So you saw the lunatic on the highway.
I did. I saw the lunatic on the highway wearing a tie-dye shirt. His hair would look like it was back in a ponytail, and he was very proud of himself because he has a banner right where 24 and 40 merges on the way into Nashville, hanging over the overpass that says 8647.
Sounds like Headless Bell was on the road.
Does kind of sound like a described Headless Bell, doesn't it?
It actually kind of does. Did he look like Headless Bell? Do we know where Headless Bell was?
No, but I think if he had been wearing an ABBA shirt as opposed to a tie-dye shirt, we would be able to confirm.
I think we also know that it's not Headless Bell because I don't think he's ever been awake at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
No,
that's
I don't think it's him.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, can you name the sound? Do you know what that is?
Is that a dolphin?
Nope.
I stand by it's a chihuahua being choked to death, but
earlier KGB said it was a chihuahua being choked to death, or chihuahua.
I feel like you need some intimate knowledge to know that that's a chihuahua being choked to death.
That's a good point. Something you want to tell us, KGB? That is a zebra.
I just wanted some Taco Bell and the chihuahua was bothering me.
That's the zebra.
That is a zebra.
I'm gonna get to the bottom of the zebra story on my show, just for the record.
Are you? Well,
we're gonna crowdsource this thing, and we're gonna figure out where it is,
crowdsource,
and who it belongs to. Murfreesboro is a small town. There are people.
You're from. That's right. You're from Murfreesboro.
Honestly, I feel like I got back after a week off, and it's like you guys really wrecked the place.
All of a sudden, there's zebras running around,
bears on the road,
bears on the road in Gallatin. So,
but the funniest part about the zebra story is that it was the first day that they owned the zebra.
Yes, they just gotten the zebra.
It was day one.
So literally, it's my first day. Give me a break. Is a real argument.
Zebra, friendly or friend or foe? Zebra, friend or foe?
I would think friend. Can you put a saddle on a zebra?
Yes.
Why are we
doing
this and monetizing it then?
If you do it on a donkey, you could do it on a zebra, I would assume.
Zebras are mean. Zebras, I was talking about this earlier. Zebras,
they're mean.
Bite and kick. They don't like people.
So like camels. Well, camels
like
are
most
ridden.
of us.
Camels can be rode, and they spit and they kick.
What, camels?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like camels. Camels.
But they can also be rode upon. So why
Ridden.
can't a zebra?
They can be ridden.
Ridden. I don't know. That's perhaps a good point. I don't know. I guess, you know what? Google. If only there was a device. Can somebody Google, can you ride a zebra?
I feel like you should be able to.
Well, there's a zebra running around Murfreesboro that would very much disagree with you.
While some zebras can be ridden after training, it's generally not recommended. Zebras are wild animals, not domesticated like horses, and have different anatomy.
What does that mean?
Back structure-wise, it's unsuitable for riding.
Oh. It has to do with the stripes?
I'm assuming their spine.
5371. Zebras are extremely mean.
Why do people do this? How much does a zebra
Madagascar.
cost? How much does a zebra cost?
It's funny you should ask, Chris.
If I'm like, I want my own zebra.
$3,000 to $5,000 for for just a regular run of the mill zebra. There are more exotic zebras.
You don't want to go to those zebra mills. Don't shop, adopt. So that's what I always say when it comes to my zebras.
But when it comes to like transporting zebras, or like the kennel kind of a thing where you've got the big fencing and all that, that it can cost like when you get the zebra, You're talking about, transport, initial costs of all that, like $50,000 for some.
That's insane.
That's not worth it.
Well, obviously, these people skimped out on the fencing.
So we did get.
I wish I had zebra money.
An anonymous source still says it's on the loose.
We had an anonymous source earlier that tells us, like anonymously, that the zebra is still loose. Because we had some media outlets saying the zebra had been.
I think someone in the chat line
had been found.
Said it was found.
Chat line said it was found as well. We proved that the super texters, every once in a while, there is some fake news that comes out on the super text.
There is.
So,
at what point do we get a green light to shoot at the zebra?
Oh, good Lord. See, that was my question. If you see the zebra, do you shoot?
Well, the thing is, if you were to crash into a guardrail on the highway, you have to pay for that. They shut down an entire highway for an afternoon. Like somebody owes some money, and that zebra has a hefty price to pay.
You know what we need to do? We need to call Vladimir Zelensky and get some of his drones to come out here to Murfreesboro.
Swarm.
Drones swarm the area to find this stupid zebra.
No, this will he'll drone strike and go, we didn't get him, we need $100 billion more.
That's exactly right.
That's really how a zebra sounds.
Yeah, I got it off the internet.
Sounds more like a dog. It sounds dog-like.
It's a zebra.
I don't believe you.
What?
I'm just kidding.
I believe you. I'm just disappointed.
I know.
Are you disappointed?
I'm disappointed.
It doesn't sound like a zebra.
To be honest, I thought a zebra was some more horse-like.
Yeah, I would expect a neigh on steroids.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
A neigh on steroids.
Now I've lost respect for the zebra. It sounds like a wuss.
This is like
this is why they're so mean, though.
Yeah.
Because they're overcompensating.
That's exactly right.
By the way, Dan has a sound for literally everything. He is it's honestly impressive how prepared he is for some of these.
That's exactly right, KGB. Why is he sucking up?
I don't know. He's going to ask for some taffy, I think.
Maybe. But also, I'm like not even kidding though.
Zebra is delicious. Can you eat zebra?
Can you eat zebra?
6256 says zebra is delicious.
Isn't that an exotic? I don't think that's allowed. I don't think you're allowed to hunt a zebra either.
I would try a zebra. Would you try zebra?
If it's steak, I'm eating it. I don't care what animal.
Can people eat horse?
Yes.
Yeah,
people eat horse.
Well, if you can eat horse and you can eat zebra, we can eat anything.
Well, if you can cook it like a steak, I'm eating it.
I like that attitude, Dan. Dan's like, if you put your mind to it, you can eat just about anything.
Listen, I saw the show Yellow Jackets. I know you can eat anything.
You and Yellow Jackets.
1907 says zebras sound more like a donkey. Yeah, but donkeys
are a little more deep. They sound more deep voice. That one's a little high pitched.
I don't know.
Is it a fancy zebra that you got the audio for?
I don't know if it
fancy
was
zebra.
Was it a $3,000 zebra or a $50,000 zebra?
What kind of zebra are we talking about here?
The one from Saudi Arabia.
It's the high-pitched
zebra.
Sounds like a cheap zebra.
It's like a garage band zebra. It's not the really good kind.
Okay, here's a real question. Of any of these exotic animals around the world, what would you be curious to eat?
What is it?
He asked if
speaking of like zebras, of other like exotic animals that like we haven't like not naturally like eat regularly, what would you eat? What would you be curious to try?
I'd focus on the endangered species list personally.
Sure.
God.
Like if we're gonna
three-toed sloth,
we're gonna go with something fun.
Yeah.
I want something rare.
You know what? You want to get
medium rare.
You want to get the people that were bringing back that dinosaur a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, let's have some Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Let's hunt that thing down. Shoot it and eat it.
Little velociraptor
over an open fire.
That's it.
We got to go.
That's the move.
All right. So yeah, that's
pretty funny.
That is a.
If you hear that in Murfreesboro, run.
They bite.
Just run.
Some guy says a zebra bit off a dude's arm.
What?
Yeah.
How did they? Never mind. I was gonna say something bad. I stopped myself.
That's okay. You could say it during this segment. It's actually, say it during Chris's show.
Okay, perfect.
All right, very good. By the way, Chris, what's coming up?
Well, we'll be talking about all the things that I missed over the weekend, over the last week. It's been crazy. We have the Ukraine stuff happening. We have missing zebras, and we also have a very underwhelming birthday for Tennessee. Did you know that we had a very underwhelming birthday?
We celebrated it by hunting a zebra.
Yeah.
That's like
that was the celebration.
That's the celebration.
That was the open house celebration, but no one got a good clean shot.
Yeah,
there you go.
We'll talk about all that and more. Plus, it's Pride Month, so we'll celebrate.
All right. Jay Harper is coming up with the news. Hi, Jay.
Hey, howdy.
Howdy. Go ahead.
Hey, we've got more on the terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. And there's some backlash on the president's big, beautiful bill. We'll get to those stories and more coming up at 9 a.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning. All right, by the way, I love this 5286. Chris would treat PETA's endangerment list as a menu.
Apps, baby. It's all about
baby.
the apps.
Exactly right. All right, Father's Day, friends, is coming up. If the dad in your life has a dad bod that he'd like to get rid of, help him out with a belly buster special from my friends at Contours. Now, for just $99, you can get him one of those belly buster specials from Contours. If you call right now, 615-236-9960, first 10 callers get that $99 special. Again, 615-236-9960. But if you don't have a dad in your life, but you just, you want to treat yourself to a Belly Buster special, you also are eligible for that $99 Belly Buster special if you call right now. Again, the first 10 callers, 615-236-9960. Most folks lose at least 2 inches in the middle. I did. Others have as well. Taking advantage of Contour's red light technology, it is not only incredibly unique, but also effective. 615-236-9960, ContoursLLC.com.